Who's ready to run through a brick wall for Mike Elko? What a day. What an amazing day in Aggie land. It's been a rough era these last couple years under Jimbo Fisher, and today was refreshing. It was different. It was a different tone. It was a different guy. I don't miss Jimbo right now. And I like Jimbo. I think he did a lot of good things here. I think he set our NIL situation up for the future. I think he was a great recruiter. There's great talent here now. But I feel like Elko definitely zigged where Jimbo zagged today. He had his introductory press conference. He had a welcome ceremony. I'm sure many of you guys watch it. I'm sure many of you guys are aware. And it was just refreshing to hear a straightforward talker, right? Is that how y'all felt? I mean, we can get into what he said and kind of his mantras and everything. But the fact when you ask him a question, he answered it directly and in real terms, that was nice. I just want to be clear, I did like Jimbo, but it was frustrating to listen to him in pressers. Not the best press conference guy. Very much had his cliches, his sayings, his rehearsed lines. I'm sure he thought he meant meaningful and he meant impact. I'm sure he thought he was impactful when he was saying those things. But to us, it kind of just came off as like bland and repeated and rehearsed. It was just nice to hear Elko give a genuine answer. I actually was audibly laughing when we went to the press conference after the ceremony, and the first question was, what do you plan on doing with the offense? And he was actually like, well, we want to spread it out. We want to control tempo. We want to do this and that. And he gave us real football terms as his answer. And I legitimately broke out laughing. I was at work listening on my headphones because that's not what we hear here. That's not what we've been hearing for the last few years. It's been about the inches. It's been about execution. To oppose the word execution, Elko used the word adapt. And that's one of the things I really liked about what he said today. Oh, by the way, if you haven't been paying attention, A&M hired Mike Elko this weekend after hiring Mark Stoops for a grand total of, what was it, 3 hours, 2 hours? Something like that. We want to talk about that. I hope some callers want to talk about the debacle. But what I liked about what Elko said today, he indicated that he's ready to adapt to what A&M is. He understands what A&M is. Whereas the last guy here, Jimbo, which didn't work out, he came in here with a very rigid structure, very much wanting to follow his own blueprint. And I'm sure Elko wants to do that to an extent. But what he said today was, or what he indicated today was that he understands what A&M is, and he wants to do what works here. Specifically what works here. He's going to come in flexible. He's going to come in with his, what's the word, lunch pail, blue-collar attitude. He's going to emphasize the stuff that's not fun. The non-flashy stuff, the day-to-day minutia of the grind that is football. And that's, I think, what was desperately needed here. I've been saying A&M doesn't need a full rebuild. It needs a bit of a culture tweak. A bit of a tweak. The talent's here. You just got to tweak it. We all think Elko has a good chance to retain players. What a great day. Very refreshing. I listened to the press conference twice. Once at work and once on my way home from work. Let's say what's up to everybody in the chat. By the way, guys, this is a call-in show. The call-in link is linked in the chat. It's pinned. What you're going to do is click that. You're going to get prompted into a waiting room and just wait in there, and I'll pull you guys in one by one, and we can talk about Elko. We can talk about the debacle this weekend. Wherever you want to take it, we'll go. Wherever you want to take it. So I hope to see some of you guys call in. We can take it wherever you want to go. But let's say what's up to everybody in the chat today. DNLPRLS says, Dion sucks. You know what? There's some weird stuff happening in Colorado right now. A bunch of decommits all of a sudden these last couple of days. Maybe A&M can capitalize on some of that. Actually, I'm going to write that down because that leads me to something I want to ask you guys about with Mike Elko, recruiting. Keep that in mind. I want to discuss that. That was a conversation I had today, and I'm very curious to see where you guys think or how you think of Mike Elko as a recruiter, because it's a very small sample size, only a couple of years of head coaching experience. What's up, Nelson? He says, Dion, LOL, and then I said Colorado falling apart. Matt Myers, what's up? Beeb Squeeze, the more I break it down, the more I like the Elko hire. That's right, and a lot of people were on board when it finally happened. I have a feeling that the swing from Mark Stoops to Mike Elko actually made the Mike Elko hire that much more sweet, because we very much, what's the word, saliently, it was very apparent what a bad hire would feel like. and that sat with us and it stuck with us. And for those of you that were like me, where the Mike Elko name was souring a little bit, since we had it on top of mind for so long, pretty much since things were going south in 2022, it got a little boring. The name Elko got a little boring. But when we had that contrast, it made it that much sweeter. And anybody who wasn't on board before, those guys are on board today after hearing him talk, and that's awesome. It's only words. You know, we're gloating, we're hyping up a press conference, a ceremony. But you got to say the right things, right? And he absolutely did. Yes, the more I break it down, the more I like the Elko hire. Me too. Rangers King 669. What's up, man? What's even crazier about the Elko to Spurrier comparisons, Elko was legitimately better at Duke than Spurrier, despite inheriting an equally bad roster. Yeah, Spurrier beat Mac Brown twice. Look, 7-5, right, this year? Aren't they down 2 quarterbacks, I believe? I mean, 7-5 at Duke is nothing to scoff at, and I'm not saying he blew the world up this year. He had a good year last year. He was building something at Duke. That, I mean, to me, that's significant. That's something. What I like most about Elko, I'm going to say hi to the rest of y'all. I'm just going to go on tangents as we go, because I have a lot to say and think about. What I like the absolute most about Mike Elko, and I'm sure you feel the same way, is the way his players talk about him, the way his former players talk about him, the reaction. I don't know if you've been following, the Texags X profile has been posting various quotes from former players. Very, very positive reviews about this hire by Texas A&M amongst the players. And that's an opinion you value, because that's going to have to do with retention, recruiting, transfer portal. That's my favorite thing about Elko. Very, minimal body of work as a head coach, but that's something that I can definitely write home about. What's up, Antiag? I thought you guys were hiring Dabo. I don't think that was ever real. I don't even think Ryan Day was ever real. It was just smoke. It wasn't a real thing. Noah 2 Wavy. What's up, Noah? He says W hire. Agreed. What's up, Chris Cobb? Dion sucks. He'll never get a real coaching job. Is he leaving Colorado or something? What is up with this exodus coming out of Colorado? So random. Don't they believe in his vision? I don't know. What's up, Noble? Absolutely not Dion. Correct. Connor Chappell, word around town is Art Briles is still recovering in the hospital. I don't think that's true, but I remember there was a rumor circulating this chat a couple of weeks ago. Art Briles is fine, guys. Art Briles is fine, and Kevin Sumlin is not in jail. Can confirm. Asian Persuasion. What's up, Asian Persuasion? What's up, Jeb? Love the Elko ceremony today. Hope to see you call in today, Jeb. I want to get your thoughts on things. No pressure, though. If you don't want to, that's all good. But call in. Like I said, no ring dunk. I can't do it. I can't be expected to do a weekday night ring dunk weekly. That can't be a consistent thing on this show. What are you trying to do to me? It'd be more interesting. It'd be fun. Maybe if I ever do this show while retired, I'll start doing it, but that's going to be years down the road. I got stuff to do. Ha! Tyler. What's up, Tyler? I have officially doused myself with freshly made A&M Kool-Aid. Freshly brewed at around 3 o'clock today. However you brew do you heat up Kool-Aid? Wherever you get Kool-Aid from, it came out fresh today, and we're just chugging it. It sucks. The thing that's so depressing is when you think about how far away SEC Media Days is for next year. It's like, come on. I'm going to enjoy and savor this off-season cycle. I guess I'll take the time right now to get into my tangent. Let's enjoy this off-season cycle. We're going to get a lot of information during this off-season cycle. I am very curious to see exactly what kind of recruiting chops Mike Elko has. Very small sample size at Duke. And it's Duke. It's hard to get a full gauge there. There have been rumblings of both ends of the spectrum in terms of a recruiting coach as to what level of recruiter Mike Elko is. We've heard that he's not a tireless recruiter. We've heard that recruiting's not his priority. And then we've also heard that he's a great recruiter. He's great at developing relationships. I would say he is a good individual recruiter. When he's face-to-face with kids, he's really good. He cares about them. He wants to know their story. He relates with them. We don't know exactly his level is of creating a recruiting structure, a recruiting infrastructure, a recruiting system. And that is something I'm very interested to see him hit the ground running with very, very soon, because the portal and signing day are coming right up. So that's what I'm taking notes for. I'm paying attention to. That's kind of going to make or break his situation. So let's say this recruiting cycle is not the best. It's okay. You know, maybe finish 17th or something like that, 20th, somewhere in there. I mean, it makes sense. You're in a transition year. It's possible you don't have the best recruiting year. What I think could be his saving grace is the fact that next season's schedule is very manageable, and the fact that he has a good chance to retain a good chunk of this roster. Another tangent. Only 2 transfers so far. Did I bring this up already? I don't think I did. Only 2 transfers so far. Cottrell and Max Johnson. Both were guys that absolutely needed to transfer to find better opportunity elsewhere. Those are guys who are either young or running out of eligibility, who don't have a clear path to play anytime soon, and they needed to find greener pastures. Besides that, some say don't get too excited about the lack of portal entry so far. I'm intrigued by it, because at this point, I expected at least a name to enter the portal. I really did. You take this opportunity, this 30-day window that opens when you lose your coach. You take that if you wanted to enter this portal to begin with. Why is nobody taking that opportunity? I don't know. I guess I think I'm getting excited about nothing, but maybe y'all can talk me down from that. I find it at least intriguing that no one's entered the portal yet. At least intriguing. But yeah, I'm very curious about how this initial recruiting cycle goes. All right, back to the comments, and we're going to get to a couple callers we have in here. Miller Upton. What's up, Miller? I love your stream, dude. Thanks, man. Thanks. We have a good time here. Y'all make the stream. I don't have anything to go off of if y'all aren't here, so I appreciate you guys. Barnes. What's up, Barnes? Good to see you. So have you guys finally settled in? Barnes, I got to tell you something, and this is specifically to you. Mike Elko is bringing his strength and conditioning coach, and that is a position that you have been calling for Texas A&M for the last 2 years since I started this channel. It finally happened. This guy, by all accounts, is a really, really good dude. These strength and conditioning coaches have a very important role in that they're connecting with these students and these athletes year-round. It's the one coaching voice that gets one-on-one opportunity with every kid year-round. And this seems like a really good dude. Y'all look into this guy. There's like a 10-minute interview out there. I posted it on my X profile. If y'all don't follow me on X, go follow me. It's the same name as here, Drew Tamu. Very intriguing situation there, Barnes. But yes, we're settling in now. Today was the day we could finally take like a sigh of relief. Beebs, yes. When Elko talked about the offense being explosive and adaptable, absolutely. Adapt to the defense, adapt to the look. Don't come in saying you need to run a spread or run a pro style. Adaptable, does what it has to do, stays explosive. Miller says, keep doing these live streams. I'm doing one today, I'm doing one Wednesday. And then throughout this offseason, we're going to at least do one every Wednesday, unless something comes up, of course. But every Wednesday, and as things happen, if something significant happens, we'll throw one in the hat like we did today. Thanks, Miller. I appreciate it. Jimbo was a one-trick pony with the Orange Bowl. That's it. Yep, and that's why I said in my initial reaction video to Elko being hired, unless things are crazy good or crazy bad within the first 3 years, we have to let this thing run its course to fully understand what Mike Elko is and to grade the hire. People are grading this hire. I can't grade a hire the day after it happens. We need to see the body of work, especially with a guy who's not a splash hire, a guy who's an up-and-comer, a guy with a smaller body of work. We need to see this play out. Because if you graded Jimbo the day we hired him, it'd be an A+, right? Maybe to Florida State fans, it's like an F-. But let's just say average a B+ at worst for Jimbo. By year 3, we would say it was an A++, and we would maybe think to extend him. Oh, wait, we did. And then things fell off the cliff at the end of the next year, and then 2022 was a debacle. And then this year was just a frustration. So you got to let these things run its course. Of course, if Mike Elko wins 10 games next year and we're in the 12-team playoff, sure, call it an A. But, or if he goes 5-7, call it a failure. Call it a failed experiment. But I would say reserve your judgment until we see either something very significant or we've gotten a good body of work. Moving on with a few more in the chat, and then we'll get to the callers. Jimbo Fisher's in here, apparently. His message is redacted. Maybe he'll pop up again in a bit. Big Cast 24. I don't know if you remember me, but I called for this hire on your stream a couple of weeks ago. I remember someone calling for Elko. Some people did call for Elko. Welcome back. You got your guy, and I think we're all happy about it. That's awesome. Truffle Shuffle. Good to see you, Truffle Shuffle. I bet 2 bits is the Music City Bowl versus Wisconsin. I would take it. It's a big name program that I think we could definitely beat. Will Petrino be retained? That's a great question. I'm not opposed to it. I'm also not opposed to Elko bringing his OC. They had a great rapport. They had a great relationship. I'm looking forward to looking into Duke film over their last couple of seasons. I haven't done that yet, so I can't speak too much to exactly what they were doing. But I know that their fan base and their insiders had a very positive opinion of what Elko and their OC did together. So either Petrino or that guy. There's a bunch of other names out there they could go with, but I'd be okay with either of those. What's up, Mama Goblin? Good to see you. Super excited about Mike Elko. I think he's going to do a great job. Giga Maggies. Can I work out via Zoom with the new strength and conditioning coach? I think we all would want to. He seems like a great dude. Good to see you in here. And yeah, we're all excited about Elko, especially after today. Cole Price Guitar, what's up, man? One thing A&M needs is good O-line play. That's it. Everything else is good enough. That was the thing that did Jimbo in. Yeah, absolutely. O-line was subpar the whole time Jimbo was here besides 2020. And the O-line made the team that year. It made Jimbo's offense work. It would suck to lose Evan, but to be honest, Moose and Walker are playing out of their minds. That's what I'm saying. If you lose Evan, you do have 3 really good receivers. You can include Noah in there. Noah had a down year, couldn't get over injuries, had major off-the-field family, tragedy. His brother passed away. A lot of things went wrong for Noah's year this year. I'm not giving up on Noah Thomas just yet. What's up, Noah 2Wavy? I just talked about that. Philip Mixon. The Texas Bowl is a night game and indoors. I've seen the Music City Bowl, but it's December 30th outdoors. Yeah, I kind of want the Texas Bowl, even though you play Kansas State or Oklahoma State. I can go to the game. That's nice, selfishly. All right, let's get into the callers. Oh, wait, one more. This one's interesting. Brody Smith, current student. I was at the introduction ceremony. He seemed really genuine and straightforward. Vibes were high all around, and I feel good about the future. Absolutely. It looked like great vibes at that ceremony. Packed house. A bunch of players were there. A bunch of his former players. I saw Fadil Diggs and a couple other guys there. It was awesome to see him hugging McKinley Jackson when he entered the complex. Players talking about him. It was just really good vibes, good feelings. Okay, for real, the last thing I'm talking about before callers. TU game announced for 11:30 the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So that's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It's not Thanksgiving night. Thank goodness. Thanksgiving night, it's a lot to deal with. It's tradition, but I want to go to the game, and that's a lot. I'm glad it's getting that slot. Rivalry weekend, it's appropriate. That's what we need, and I can't wait to beat the hell out of them. It's going to be amazing. All right, let's get to the callers. First one up. Noble, you are on with Drew. What's on your mind, my friend?
What's going on, dude? Just super excited about the hire, man. I actually have. I was going to say the same thing you said about Mark Stoops. Actually, how essentially while obviously that was a whole debacle, I think the net was pretty positive. For a couple of reasons. First of all, if Billy Lucci and the news hadn't, leaked the news essentially, then we probably would have woken up Sunday to Mark Stoops and would be all in free fall mode.
Yeah.
And we only had to deal with 3 hours of the Mark Stoops era.
Right.
I can tell you, for about the 3 hours from 9 to 12, I was freaking out, and I went from I was out, doing Saturday night things with friends out, into being in a state of depression pretty bad.
Dude, I know. Real quick on that. I know. I was doing the same thing. I was out with family for a Thanksgiving weekend. We were hanging out, drinking. I got the news. My phone was dying. I literally stood in the corner of a dark room for about an hour while my phone charged. Like I was a zombie in the corner. Yes. Hello, darkness, my old friend, indeed. That was me. And yeah, I was glued to my phone that night. It was crazy. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Absolutely. I think we're hitting on the same emotions there.
Yep.
And then, but essentially, the way I say it's not positive because, if we got the A&M fan base got essentially flex, how passionate we were about this sort of thing, to say the least.
Sure.
And that we were able to overturn this. I don't know, to what degree, but obviously, it's significant enough that we were able to, get it done. We essentially pulled a Tennessee without having to be a little. They obviously, try to go after Greg Schiano with moral characters, but and we were just no, we just don't want him.
Yeah, right.
But then what made it great is for Sunday when Elko news came out was that I would say if the Stoops news had never came out, Elko might have received a mildly lukewarm reception. But now that, like you said, that you saw what a bad hire could look like, it was screw it. The players love him. he's a great coach, and so we obviously warmed up to him immediately. I mean, I was the guy that was saying like we need to get a splash higher, but if you weren't gonna get the splash higher, then honestly, like this is a much more economical choice, and the fact is, it's a unique situation where like he was only been gone away from the program for 2 years. A lot of his players are still here, and they obviously love him, and
Yep.
he's a winner, and he doesn't have an ego, so that's not gonna get in the way or anything like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, it was partially relief, right? I mean, like you said, we had the
Oh
example
yeah.
of what it would feel like to have the bad hire, and that just made it better. Now let's get conspiracy theorist here. What if it was planned? What if they knew
That's
that
what
Elko was going sour, and it's like, all right, I'm sorry, Mark Stoops, you're about to take one for Aggie Land. You're the fall
That's what
man.
I thought. Yeah, I thought like as bad as a look this might be for Bayor, like I was like, we're trying to get conspiracy theory. Like, what if he did it on purpose just to warm up the fan base to Elko? Like, it would, like I said, it would have got it would, we went from like lukewarm on Elko to like, no, 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 this is
Yes,
the slam dunk hire.
absolutely.
Like, absolutely, like because quite frankly, like Sunday morning, I was still in panic mode because I was like, so yeah, we didn't get Mark Stoops. We stopped that, but now who are we gonna get? So it was like I was like, Jeff Traylor might be the best option we have. Which I didn't have anything wrong with Jeff. I don't have anything against Jeff Traylor. I
Right.
think it's a more of a risky hire.
Sure.
Going from a much smaller school to like something ginormous as A&M compared to UTSA, anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It
but
might have been cheaper. That's the only thing. I don't know if you saw
yeah,
Noble, but the contract details came out. I'm gonna try to
mm-hmm.
give it to you off the top of my head. It came out. Someone from Texags took a picture of it and posted it. 7 million a year, with I believe a $6.5 million buyout. So an actual buyout. We didn't have that
Yeah,
before.
much more reasonable.
6 year contract with a ton of incentives, all of which, or most of which, the most heavy incentives are around making and advancing in the playoff, which of course is going to be a
Oh yeah.
12-team playoff. So that's awesome. We get to see huge bonuses for accomplishing the ultimate goal. And then an interesting aspect of the contract is I believe every time he makes the playoff, the contract extends by a year. So it's
No
totally
way. I
incentive
love
based.
that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's it's what we wanted to see. Now 7 million a year base, a little bit higher than I would have expected, but it feels all right
What he made
after.
at Duke.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little higher than expected, but I'll take it. If what he spoke of today is any indication of how he's going to be as a coach, I mean, he's worth it. We're going to have to see, obviously, see it play out. But yeah, man, continue. Sorry,
Well,
I have all these thoughts I
no,
have to
no,
throw out
no. I
there.
love that. I didn't know about that last part
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
contract, so that's super cool. And then another cool part of the contract was the fact that I saw that he's going to have $11 million to hire staff,
yes,
and to put that perspective, this is I saw somewhere like programs like Georgia and Alabama have like 9 million typically,
right,
so we can
right.
go ahead and he can make whatever hire he wants at the coordinator. It's like literally one of those like no expenses spared for building up like what's around him because uh like I'm sure his staff at Duke was really good, but it was also like he had to maximize whoever he got on a budget, and like not that he has unlimited money at A&M, but it's obviously a lot more. So he can get literally pretty much anyone he wants. I would have
Absolutely.
liked Jeff Lebby if he didn't take the Mississippi State head coaching job.
Right.
So that's I guess the real question I am curious about what we're going to do at OC.
Yeah, that's the big question right now. And yeah, I don't know where he'll go with it. Like I said, I'm good with Petrino. Would you be good with keeping Petrino, or do you want to move on from that?
No, no, I think Petrino's not a bad, especially because he, already knows the personnel,
Yeah.
and he might actually, he'll actually get free reign of the offense, and he would be like a worst case, an average offensive coordinator. I think he's above that, but at worst case scenario, like he gets to improve on what we currently have. I think the O line coach is the more glaring issue that we got to take a look at.
Sure.
But if it's not Petrino, the only reason why I'd say like we need to move on Petrino is I've heard that he's not like the biggest on recruiting, and um, so like I would like maybe a flashy name just for the recruiting side of things because
Sure.
uh, that helps, and then maybe on the younger side, something about young OCs tends to like attract more like quarterback names,
Right. Right.
high
Right.
profile guys. So there's that too.
Yeah.
I don't. I guess you got to go around the country though and look at like what the best performing offenses are. For some reason, it doesn't seem like there's like that many high flying offenses this year that the OCs are directly linked to. But that's something to be explored for sure.
Yeah, and that's a huge aspect of it. We know Elko, and hopefully, if he's able to retain Elijah Robinson, they're going to do well in recruiting. They're going to do well retaining defensive players. But you're right, the offense needs a spark to excite them. Connor Wigman's going to be key in maintaining the offensive side of
Yep.
the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You keep him, you're probably a lot of guys are probably going to want to stick around. I don't even really when I think of the offensive side of the ball, it really is Connor Wigman and Evan Stewart, who are I think like transfer risks. I think Moose Muhammad with Jimbo gone, and read into that what you will. Did they have a beef? I don't know. But Moose is playing a lot
It
more and a
seemed
lot
like
better
it.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did seem like it. Maybe he's more incentivized to stay now that he knows he has opportunity. So I really look at Connor and Evan. I mean, I don't really see like a surefire other transfer. Maybe Bryce Foster if he feels like his career's kind of going south here. So I don't know. I think it's going to come down to retaining Connor. So you're right. They need to get someone that excites him. But before I let you go, you got anything else on your mind?
I guess when it comes to retaining players, like I didn't know that Bryce Foster was someone that we need to worry about
I've just thrown a name out
leaving.
there. A highly rated
Oh
guy
yeah,
out of high school. Maybe his career's gone a little bit south. Maybe he looks for greener pastures. Just kind of a name I threw out there.
the track and field side of things keeps him around, but
True,
at the
true.
same time, yeah. So it's he does he's pretty good at that around here. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I wouldn't mind if he decided to skip that for a year and you go to spring practice. It seems like skipping spring practice has not been helping him out.
Right, right. Yeah, that could make a big difference. Well, all right, Noble. I appreciate your call, man. Hopefully you call in again soon.
Absolutely. Hey, great show. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, man. You have a good night. Bye. That was Noble. All right, we got a bunch of guys waiting, so we're gonna get to the next caller. Jeb, you're on with Drew. What is on your mind, man? How you feeling?
Man, the relief is gone, dude.
Yeah, yeah. You feeling good?
I'm feeling great. I definitely love the hire now that I've kind of dived into it. Obviously, like everyone's been saying, over Mark Stoops. So that night, I remember seeing it on I think Instagram that we hired Mark Stoops, and I was like, oh my! I was like, and I went to
Yeah.
bed, and I woke up, and I think what was it, Billy Lucci who posted it,
Yeah,
saying he wasn't
probably.
going to be. I like Mark Stoops, but I just think he's peaked as a head coach.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna give whoever it was a chance, but I get
Right.
that the name is sour. It's been
And I
around a
think
long time. He's been around at the same job a long time in the SEC. I get it.
Yep. And if you were to hire him, I think you would definitely have like an exodus at your like roster. I think a lot of guys definitely would transfer out.
Oh, we saw it on Twitter. People were laughing at the move. I mean, there were several tweets about the hire whenever the Mark
Did they
Stoops
ever
news came out.
explain like how that went to be? Because I mean, that's kind of like how do I say this? Like very like it just makes Ross Bajork look kind of bad.
Yeah. So they did explain it, but before I tell you, someone just says Jeb just slammed a 12 pack. I guess your voice sounds a little.
Oh, I'm a little sick today. My
Okay,
bad.
that makes sense. No, you sound great. You sound great. I just thought that was a funny
I
comment.
wish I had a 12 pack though.
I know that'd be a fun Monday night. All right, so yes, Ross was asked about what happened, and he really didn't give a clear answer. Unfortunately, I don't think it's a good look for Ross right now. But he essentially said everything was fluid. We had a bunch of options at the time. Basically
Right.
danced around the answer. I think basically did y'all?
Oh,
I mean, let me
okay.
ask the chat. Did you guys think he kind of danced around the question? I mean, I feel like he didn't give a straight up answer. Like Olin Buchanan, and you guys know if y'all follow Texags, if you follow these press
Yeah.
conferences, he is hard on coaches. He asks very good and
Oh
direct
yeah,
questions.
he really does.
Yeah, and he asked him, was
I
Elko
think
your
he- I
first
think he-
choice or was Mark Stoops your first choice?
I think
Essentially,
he even said Jimbo had beef with him too.
I'm sure Jimbo did. I'm sure he did because Jimbo didn't like being pressed like that. But I mean, I felt like Ross just answered around the question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you followed the whole debacle, but it was just it was a mess.
I
Yeah.
think now that we got our guy, I always said the main two priorities obviously were keeping E-Rob, which we did that. I think they're going to make him the defensive coordinator, if I read that correctly.
There's smoke behind that. Nothing confirmed. Nothing from like a super credible
Right.
source, but there's definitely rumblings of that. I mean, I think E-Rob is definitely at the point of his career where he's ready to take up that role of defensive coordinator. Now, based on his experience, I would say he probably needs to go maybe to a mid-level school like a Duke or something like that to de-coordinate. But behind Mike Elko, the guy that he worked with before here, a great defensive mind, I feel like that's a great pairing. And I feel like he can
really
be
is.
de-coordinator. He can run Elko's defense. He can operate under Elko, and then eventually become a self-sufficient D coordinator. And let's be honest, if Elko works out, I don't think you're retaining Elijah forever because he's poised to be a head coach someday.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But I think we can
And
get a few more years out of it. What do you think?
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's an elite recruiter. I think they both have the same philosophy on defense. So
Yeah.
I knew once we hired Elko, I still want, as most fans, we wanted to keep our defense. We're gonna have a great defense with him. If you I've watched Duke quite a bit this year, and for a team that lacks talent, they flew to the football on defense.
Sure.
They were physical, they were fast. And I was blown away by watching them, and so I know we're gonna have that now.
Absolutely.
I'm just eager to see who he retains as offensive coordinator. If he keeps Bobby or if he goes after somebody else.
Yeah, that's the big question. I mean, what would you do? Do you have a number one guy, or where are you at with that?
I mean, I'm fine with either one if we keep Bobby for sure, because I still do like Bobby Petrino. I've always thought he was a good coach.
Yeah.
But that's where I think, like the last caller said, you can get flashy with it, but I don't know any names right now who you would go after. I mean, Jeff Levy, yeah, would have been cool, but obviously I think he's going to Mississippi State, right?
Yep.
And one thing I wanted to point out that's kind of funny is, like, I just remember, 2-3 weeks ago when they did fire Jimbo. It's true. I mean, everyone thought after that firing our roster was going to turn over. As of right now, I mean, we only have two guys that are leaving, two guys that were expected. I said Max Johnson was not going to be on this roster next season. I said that probably midway through the season.
It made too much sense. Yeah, and it's not.
Exactly.
It's not. I don't think losing a Max Johnson is indicative of any kind of exodus. I mean, it could still happen, but I don't think that that's a sign of things to come. I think Max was right to leave.
Obviously, and then obviously you want to keep Wigman. I think that's your next main priority, because I think if you keep him, he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country next year if you build him an offensive line.
Absolutely, and I think even with the offensive line this year, I think a guy like Wigman still could have had some success. He's just that kind of a quarterback. He's the kind of guy that sits under pressure and finds receivers. He's the kind of guy with a quick release. He reads the defense well, and I only can imagine the O-line will be improved next year. So yeah, keeping Wigman is the absolute key, and I think the OC decision and where they go with the offense, it's a big factor in that. But honestly, we're assuming a lot. Wigman might love A&M and want to stay, so who knows what happens.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at that. Nobody was really transferred out. Even our commitment class right now, no one's decommitted as of right now.
I think the decommitments happened when A&M was losing games under Jimbo. I think that's when we lost the guy to LSU. That's when we lost.
Yeah,
I forget the names, but a couple of commits.
One of the top 100 receivers, but he's still in contact with A&M, so
yes.
I think we still got a good shot at getting him. And I like how Kobe Black, one of the big-time corners in the state of Texas.
Yep.
Dude, he moved back his commitment. I know Texas fans are sweating right now. And the Waco, because he's from Waco. Waco's like Longhorn territory.
Right.
So the fact that he pushed that commitment back, it gives you a little bit of hope. Now, I'm sure Texas probably still signs him, but
yeah, I heard he's still the favorite for Texas. But I mean, that gives Elko with a new staff and gives him time to get some momentum going.
Who knows? I think Billy Lucci even tweeted out saying that the Houston kids love Elko because, I mean, he's recruited here while he was here.
Yeah, absolutely. Apparently he was paramount in a couple of battles, so we'll see. Like I said, I think him and Elijah are both great individual recruiters. My only question is, can they build a recruiting infrastructure like Jimbo did? I know a lot of that's already set up here, but let's see where he goes with that. I have a level of confidence that he can get it going, but we need to see it first because he's definitely – I would say he's unproven. Only 2 years.
Absolutely.
I think 2 years as a head coach. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, because, Duke, there's obviously less pressure. No one expects him to be good. So here, I mean, obviously he's being here, but leading the team, I mean, I think he'll do a good job. I think he might be kind of shaky off the bat, but I think giving time, I mean, judging by how he talks, he doesn't really seem like he has an ego like Jimbo.
Correct.
I think he's one of those dudes where he's going to play the CEO role and he's going to let his coordinators do this job. So that was kind of the downfall of Jimbo, was the stubbornness and willing to adapt. And it's crazy, man, crazy. I like Jimbo, but I just knew it was time to move on from him. I just knew he was holding us back.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance. I mean, it was going to all be on the line either next year or you just get it over with and do it now. I wanted to maybe see him another year, but I thought there was always a chance if he came back that it could go this way either way. So
well, we're gonna see how good the O-line is next year.
I know. Let's see how the offense changes up. I'm curious.
We're gonna see if it was literally just Jimbo's scheme or if these guys are just You know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I'm just eager to see who he brings in. I wonder if he brings in a couple, because I know I saw a couple guys from Duke already transferring out. So
Yep. I wonder if any of those guys are candidates to come here. Now, Riley Leonard, their quarterback, they're saying he's a candidate to transfer too, and there's rumblings of him going to A&M, which I don't see happening if they
I
retain
don't see it
Wegman.
happening. If they retain Wigman, I don't see that happening
I've
whatsoever.
also heard rumblings of him going to Notre Dame, and that would make for a very interesting opening game for Texas A&M, playing Notre Dame with Elko. And remember, Elko coached at Notre Dame the year before he was at A&M. That could be a very interesting week one, maybe college game day type of situation. Who knows?
Absolutely, because I think that's our first game of the. That's
Yes,
our
it is.
opener, right?
The schedule. Yeah, a lot of the schedule came out today. It's Notre Dame, I believe McNeese, and then the third game of the year is at Florida. We go right into SEC play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really weird. And then we come back for Ball State, and then we go to Arkansas and start the real slate. So really funky
I didn't know
schedule.
I didn't know we played Florida next year. I thought Missouri was on our schedule.
Missouri at home. Yep. Missouri's at home next year.
Hey, our schedule is very favorable next year. All our home games are against like the best teams: Notre Dame, LSU, Ole Miss,
Absolutely.
Texas.
Yep.
Is that going to be a morning game? Is that what they announced?
The Texas game, all we know is it's November 30th, and I believe that's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. That's all we know. I don't think we have a time yet.
When do you think is the best time to buy those tickets?
Ooh, how much you want to spend, man? I mean, that's going to be a pretty penny. I'm talking like
gonna be
500 for nosebleeds.
You got after 10 years, you have to go.
I mean, everyone's saying that, so the demand for these things is going to be outrageous. I mean, I'm going to try to be there. It's going to be insane. It's going to be intense. I don't know. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait. But, Jeb, give me any closing thoughts, because I do have a bunch of callers waiting. I appreciate you taking the reins last show. If you didn't know, I didn't have very many callers last week. Jeb, we co-hosted. We coasted the whole thing. We had a great time.
We got to have our own show, man.
I know. It kind of happened last week. But what else you got before I let you go for the night?
Sheesh. I mean, I guess we can talk a little bit about the LSU game. You know, that's something we really.
It was fun, man. It was fun for a while. I was having a good ass time when we were up 10.
So many opportunities, man. So many.
At the end of the day, our weaknesses killed us. I mean, we got beat over the top in the secondary. Damani got beat. The corners got beat. We lost Tyreek Chappelle. He went down. They targeted the backup.
Those guys are so good, man. Those receivers are so good, dude.
That's a good ass offense. It just is. That's a really good freaking offense.
I think what changed. Man, I know. What was it? Was it the third quarter? Man, we got that stop, and we were up 24-14. If we could just, I think when he threw that pick, obviously that changed the whole momentum of the game. They just kind of ran with it, and
that was big. The missed field goal changed momentum too. I mean, we had a nice long drive, missed the field goal, that hurt.
I hope Jalen Henderson. I hope he stays on the roster next year, man, because I hope we retain him, because he'd be a great backup.
Dude, he looks like a really solid backup.
That's Bobby's guy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby knows his quarterbacks, dude.
Right.
He recruited that guy.
Right, that's awesome. I mean, I would love to see a year of Bobby with Connor. I just don't know if Bobby's going to be the guy. I was very excited when we got him, but yeah, man, the offense looked good. They had a good game plan. They were milking the clock, keeping that offense off the field.
Long drives. We actually had a running game. We had a running game. Yeah, the blocking was good. The running backs, they've all improved. Ruben Owens is getting better. Le'Veon Moss, to me, had a heroic performance because he was playing injured. That was awesome to see. I mean, he was limping around out there, and he was getting receptions, getting first down yards. Our receiving core, man, still great. People always say A&M can't develop receivers. I mean, I don't know, man. Our receivers are pretty good.
Look at Jaday's arc. I mean, start of the year, he had a good opener, I believe, or second game, and then he had a bunch of drops and kind of fell out of the rotation, and now he's back in a big way.
Back in it. You know, if we talk about Evan Stewart, which obviously, like we've talked about, it'd be a big loss because of the potential.
Yep.
But if he were to leave, we're still in good hands if these guys come back. You still got Noah Thomas, who still has a promising future. You got Moose. Yes, I guess Moose just had beef with Jimbo or something, man.
Something like that.
It's so weird because he played a lot. And you know who else I looked at who played a lot in the LSU game who did pretty well?
Who's that?
Was David Bailey.
Oh, yeah, he did. We have a fourth back in the rotation now. That's awesome. Yeah,
I don't know why. I don't know why they never used him, because I know we brought him in to be like, our short yards back, goal line. But when he ran the ball for a guy his size, he ran so smooth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why did we never use him? And then that fullback dive to Nebo.
Dude, fifth running back. I was about to say we have a fifth running back. And, dude, that was so fun. That was crazy, man. That was a great game, great game plan. Creative play design, stuff I hadn't seen, motions I hadn't seen, like option plays. Like they
Yeah.
ran that thing for Henderson, for the running backs, and the receivers had a great game
And then in the
too.
third quarter, they kind of got away from it. They were kind of, they had their foot on the gas.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, for quicker routes, we had longer plays, that longer developing routes. I'm like, what are we doing? Like we had that same game plan. Why did we go away from it?
I know. We did. We totally went away from it. We kind of. Jimbo would always say this thing that frustrated me. It was when we got down in the game, we had to pass the ball because we were running out of time. We had to get back in the game. It's like, well, just run your game plan. It's not like you're getting beat by 20. Run your game plan. Trust the process. Trust your plays. Do what got you there. I don't like that. I don't like it when you're passing on first and second down because you feel like you have to get it back. I think that's a bad.
No.
But I don't know if that's what they did. It could have been the game plan to do that, but anyway, I loved the game until the end. They're a freaking good offense. What can you say?
Yeah,
That's the Heisman.
let's give it props to Jaden Daniels, man, for how skinny that dude is. Every time I thought we were gonna sack him, he squeezed out of it.
Absolutely.
Every time I'm like, dude, what the? How this guy? I mean, sheesh.
Yeah, I know. Well, all right, Jeb. I'm gonna have to let you go because I have a bunch of people waiting. I appreciate you coming on tonight, man. I'll talk to you. I'm gonna do another show Wednesday if you want to be around for that.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I'll be around for that.
All right, take it easy, Jeb.
All right, take it easy.
All right, guys. I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick because you know how this goes. I chug water. I'll be back in about a minute and a half. I'm gonna pin this so you know where I'm at. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. It didn't take a ring dunk to send me to the restroom midstream this time. It just happened. All right, I saw a question I want to address, and then we're going to get into Theo. I know Theo's been wanting to get on for a couple of weeks now. Miller asked, yo, Drew, what do you think about Anias' chance to stay for next season? Wide receiver room would be stacked if he stayed. And Stu didn't transfer. Dude, that's a dream. He's been in college for so long, and even if he wants to stay, even if he gets an NIL bag, I think that guy wants to get onto his rookie contract. I really do. I don't know where he is on mocks right now. If he's really at the end of the draft, maybe there's an outside chance. Maybe. I was surprised to see he even had eligibility left, but I think it's a long shot. And then I have Brody Smith here saying Stu is gone. I think Brody was the student that was at the ceremony today, and he said, essentially, he quit practicing and didn't go to the LSU game. Yeah, that's what we've heard. I don't know if it was injury related or if it was that. Who knows? It looks bad for both of them. Like, they're probably not going to be here next year, but that'd be amazing. Stacked wide receiver room if I've ever seen one. All right, let's get Theo in here. Theo, you're on with Drew. What is up, my man? Finally got you on.
Not much. Just been a fatso eating pumpkin pie that's left over from Thanksgiving.
That sounds like a great time.
Just watching the Mississippi State press conference from Jeff Lebby. Just trying to flip through the channel, being bored, listening to you.
Hey, that sounds like a great Monday night.
The draft thing that you were talking about, I actually run a bunch of draft simulators when I'm bored, and Anias is going somewhere between the late 4th and early 6th. Sometimes I can even get him with the 7th pick or 7th rounder. So if we can get someone to drop a $400,000 NIL deal, then I'm pretty sure you can maybe keep Anias.
That honestly sounds reasonable. The only thing is he tired of being in college? You know, does he want to do a 6th year? That would be the factor. But if that's where he's going, there's a chance. That makes sense.
As far as Evan goes, I get mixed signals from him. I try not to read into him too much because during the LSU game, even though he wasn't at LSU, you could tell he was paying attention to the LSU game.
Absolutely.
Because he was tweeting out stuff like, "There's the actual Pertino playbook and stuff like that," that kind of threw shade at Jimbo,
Yep.
but also kind of pointed out that he was actually paying attention to what happened and is happening. So that kind of makes me think that he was more just injured and didn't really think that um, traveling was the best for him.
Sure.
Considering, I don't know if you saw Donald Green's response a couple weeks ago about people not practicing while injured or not playing while injured. He said that he had a thigh bruise similar to Evan Stewart that required 3 blood transfusions.
Yeah.
So we don't
Yeah.
know what's really going on with that situation. So I try not to.
That's a good
If he
point,
goes,
and that's a good point. And I've had a thigh bruise too, and those things swell up. And getting in a plane might not be the best thing for a situation like that. So there's definitely an angle there, and we haven't had any kind of confirmation from that. So you're right. I mean, we don't have to jump to the conclusion that he's gone. That's a really good point, and he was locked into that game.
so I try not to. If he's here, he's here. Great. If he's
Sure.
not, then we have other players on the roster that needs a shot. You know, we
Absolutely.
barely got to see we barely got to see someone like Micah Tees.
Yeah.
We barely got to see Moose.
Yep.
We barely got to see. Um, gosh, there's like 2 other wide receivers that we didn't get to see outside of Contrell as well,
Yep.
even though he's transferring.
Sure.
But I
Sure.
mean, and then you still got um, coming in. We still have 2 4-star wide receivers
Yep.
committed.
Yep.
And then that doesn't include the fact that we got Cam Coleman, a 5-star, committed still.
Yep. And that's going to be a
Even though
battle,
there's
but
no,
I mean, they're still committed. Absolutely.
and then you still have Draylon Miller, who's like still really putting out fillers for A&M and wants to be at A&M, but is looking for a reason to come and not necessarily leave. So I'm hoping that once he hears from Elko and this offensive staff, whoever they choose to be the offensive staff, he does lock in.
Yep.
Um, and it's just it's a fun time to be alive.
Dude, tell me how you were feeling during that press conference. That was awesome. That was just a football
Oh,
conversation. That was a guy just talking ball. It wasn't coach speaky. It was just straightforward and straight up. How did you feel about it?
I loved I loved everything that Elko said. I felt slimy about Bork has made me feel
Oh,
slimy
yeah.
with the way he talks about things, and just some of it's like double speak, and even like you guys were talking earlier about Olin asking him straightforward, was Elko your first or second option or whatever, and he was like, we still had guys up to the last minute trying to get in on the job, and I'm like, what are you saying to Elko, who's sitting right next to you, if you say something like that?
Yeah.
That he like it just felt nasty. But excuse me, I'm a little underneath the weather today.
No, you're good. It's going around.
The As far as what Elko said, I loved every moment of it. Like I literally wanted to cry at the end when he was actually doing at least the celebratory press conference when he was doing
Sure.
the saw and horns off, and actually the family knew it and was singing it with him and stuff. It's just like that's A&M. He
Yeah.
gets it, and it's something that we've been needing and really wanting. And then I've been digging into some of what they built at Duke, and um, they talked about how our offensive line. We talk about how our offensive line is bad. They went from having a really bad offensive line the first or before he got there, and then in the last 2 years they've had all SEC players there, including someone who's supposed to go in the first round at left tackle.
Wow.
All of a sudden,
Wow.
and then you have Leonard and stuff, and then even one of their wide receivers is supposed to be like a third round draft pick that no one would have thought of 2 years ago. Um, but
Absolutely.
and his offense, from what I saw, because I watched a little bit of the Duke North Carolina game, and it's very much I call it a run first spread.
Okay. So Tennessee-ish, maybe?
Yeah. At least that's what they were running under his OC there. Very um, read option, run first, um, but would always pull. Like you can tell when the quarterbacks are told to pull and make it look like a pass, even if they hand the ball off.
Right.
Like you can still see that motion. So you still see that they have emphasis on the spread RPO game out of it as well.
Right.
So if he brings that OC in, it will look a little bit different. Um, well, a lot different from what we saw under Jimbo, but a little bit different from um, Pertino because it's more of the like bubble swing passes and
Right.
the short screen passes, tunnel screens, versus like with Pertino, it was more of those long running back screens and the tight end screen.
Yeah.
Um, Defensively, they were always sound. They played really sound ball. DBs really didn't get beat unless it was like a pure out athleticism type thing, which with him being at Duke, that's gonna happen.
Yep.
Um, I think he was
Uh-oh.
I think
You cut out for a second. You think what?
the best. I think Elko is the best hire that we did not want, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
Sure. Absolutely.
like I think we lucked into him not realizing what exactly he was for us.
Right.
Because
Right.
even I was like, I kind of want someone like Jed Fish, or I kind of want someone who seemed to have a little bit more of a higher ceiling.
Sure.
But then you stop to think about he's still only 41. He has yet to reach any kind of his peak coaching level as a
Right.
head coach. That
And
is.
that's what I'm saying. I was getting at that early in the show. I think some people have drawn the few people who are kind of hesitant about Elko, I think have drawn some sort of conclusions about him. But to me, Elko still has everything to prove, everything to build, and we really still don't
Mm-hmm.
know exactly where he goes. Like I was getting at early in the show, and maybe you can chime in on this. I don't know what his recruiting chops as a head man to a recruiting system are. I don't know how he runs his style of building the infrastructure for a recruiting system. How do you feel about that? What do you think his chances are? The thing that I like the most about him that I said before is players love him. I think that goes a long way in recruiting too.
When he was here, um, when he was here recruiting for us, it was very much more of a um, does he fit my type?
Does he fit my
Is he
system?
smart? Is he intelligent? Is he going to give me? Yeah, is he going to be balls to the wall? Is he going to do what he's supposed to do? Type of player, like say Terry on York,
Right.
versus and even Edge and Cooper,
Right.
versus someone like Anthony Hill or Harold Perkins, who is the big name.
Right. Right.
Um, Not saying he didn't go after the big name because he absolutely did, but he also didn't necessarily care that he had to go get the 4 or 5 star.
Right.
He would work with whatever he could get,
Sure.
as long as they fit a certain type that he was looking for.
Absolutely.
Um, and that's something that comes out when you listen to the strength conditioning coach. He wanted boxers. He wanted people who could take hits
Yep.
and still take hits and still take hits, and then in the ninth inning or the fourth quarter, deliver the knockout blow.
Absolutely.
Um, and you saw that in the Clemson game. Someone pointed, I think it was Cole Kubek that pointed it out or something in Twitter, where even without the depth that Clemson would have over Duke, Duke pulled away from Clemson in the fourth quarter,
Yep. Absolutely.
um,
They
and
took the
was
hits and kept
rotating.
punching. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you even saw it against Notre Dame; they were right there at the end, um, despite clearly being outclassed in terms of recruiting class. So
Yep.
um, I'm really excited for this hire. I look forward to seeing what he can do. Um, I do question how he is as the closer because
Right.
as the head coach, you're the closer of any recruiting battle.
Right.
Um, but I like what he said when he kind of put out um, an open door invite to the Texas high school coaches,
That was awesome.
and um, that kind of reemphasizes that he plans on trying to keep as much of Texas athletes in Texas, which is one of the key ways to building a really good dynasty here. Is to keep the good players in Texas, and keep them out of Alabama, keep them out of Florida, keep them out of Georgia.
Absolutely.
So
Yep. Yep. Well, I think I think we're in a good place here, and I'm excited to see our pipeline extend to New Jersey because I believe both him and Elijah Robinson are from New Jersey. We've gotten a couple guys out of there the last few years. It's gonna be fun to see if that keeps growing. But all right, Theo, I appreciate you calling in, man. Any final thoughts before I let you go? I got a bunch of people waiting, but want to see if you have anything else to say.
The last thing I just wanted to say is that um, I really enjoyed the LSU game, even though we lost.
Absolutely.
I hate that we lost, but it was still a really good, hard-fought game that you could hang your hat on and say, it just wasn't our year. But
yeah,
dang, they really put it all out there for us.
Yep. I think our deficiencies just kind of showed in the end, and that was just covering the deep ball against a really freaking good offense. And in the end, we were fighting from behind, and this offense with a backup quarterback wasn't designed to come back from that. Didn't work out. But absolutely, just a great effort. Think about that Max Wright touchdown, the 50-yard catch and run, just the effort he showed on that after his drop earlier in the game. I mean, I was getting emotional after that one. That was awesome. But, yeah, all right, Theo. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in.
No problem, sir.
Have a good night.
Good show.
That was Theo. Been wanting to get him on for a while. We talk on X. Let's do a couple of chats. Then we're going to get the callers. We got a bunch waiting still. I see y'all talking about coaches, special teams coach. We need a special teams coach, and Elko had one at Duke. I think there's a chance he gets one here, too. Get a new kicker in, probably. Bond missed a bunch of field goals this year. He missed chip shots this year. Kickers get in their heads, man. Once you start missing, you keep missing. So you got to get someone to push them. Yeah. All right. We got Love Shack waiting. Love Shack, you're on with Drew. What is on your mind, my man?
Hey, what's going on, Playboy? How you doing tonight?
Not too bad. Not too bad. How you doing? You're sounding real smooth. You got a nice mic on you right there. You sound good.
Of course. You know I got my Blue Yeti on deck.
Heck yeah.
Just watching a little football. Writing my application to Texas A&M's graduate school right now. So.
Are you really?
Yes, sir. Yes,
well,
sir.
Good luck with that. That's awesome, man. Well, how you feeling about how you? Yes, you are. How you feeling about the Aggies right now? How you feeling about Elko? Where are you at?
Honestly, I like Elko. I don't know too much of the coaching landscape of the college football world. Not gonna lie. I'm mostly focused on like Texas A&M and a little bit of the UW-Madison Badgers. But from what I've seen, it's a good hire. But I want to talk to you about something else. Touched on this a little bit, but what's going on with Evan Stewart? Why didn't he go to the LSU game? I've seen a lot of speculation that he's transferring.
Okay, let's talk about it real quick. We briefly touched on it earlier in the show.
Yes,
yes. Let's go through the whole saga that happened starting like a week back. A report came out from On3 Texas. I forget the specific reporter's name, but essentially came out with these two statements. First of all, Evan Stewart potentially not traveling with Texas A&M to LSU. The second statement, a strong candidate to enter the transfer portal. And he put those statements together as if they're strongly correlated, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but that was a statement that he made. So immediately, a bunch of rumbling started. Is Evan Stewart transferring? Is this a done deal? Is he quitting the team? I was kind of pissed off that it came from a Texas source. Of course, if you have the information, go ahead and share it. Whatever, it's your information to do with you what you will with. I like how our reporters typically hold on to things until it's appropriate for both sides. Specifically, Lucci is known to do that. He's been criticized of sunshine pumping in doing that, but I think he just does right by all parties involved, and that's what lets him gain trust within the Bright complex.
Right.
They leaked it. They leaked this information. they combined the two statements, made it sound real bad. Lucci confirmed that he was indeed at risk of not traveling, and he also confirmed that he hadn't practiced since getting beat out in practice that week. So that's what Lucci said in a report. He did say that in a Texags forum post, that Ja'Day Walker beat him out and Evan Stewart hasn't practiced since. He linked those two things together, and that sounds real bad. But of course, we know Evan Stewart is battling injury. Maybe maybe it was the other way around. Maybe he got hurt, so Ja'Day was starting. We don't know that. Time has gone on. During the game, Evan Stewart was tweeting about the game, saying, "Oh, that's that Bobby Petrino offense," and he was talking up his players, talking up Ja'Day Walker. But crickets aside from that. He also did like a tweet. God, look at me like dissecting what a college kid does. This is weird, but I like it.
Yeah, no, you were a college kid once, bro.
Yeah, still am. Not really. Okay, anyway, he liked a tweet that someone had put out saying that Jimbo's wasting Evan Stewart. He liked that tweet kind of around the same time frame, maybe a little bit before this.
Right.
And I think that brings us to now. He still hasn't transferred.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see in the chat, some people are heavily speculating that he's done, he's gone, but other people like Theo, who is just on, think that he's hurt, and you can't travel with a blood swelling in your thigh, and it makes a lot of sense not to be able to travel into a high pressure airplane with that situation. So we basically don't have the full picture. We have puzzle pieces. I will say, sounds a little scary, but I think the main cog in this offense is Connor Wigman. He's the one you have to retain. He's the domino, I think, of this whole thing. I think you're in really good shape retaining defensive players, but I think Wigman is the key. But I don't know.
Gotcha.
How do you feel about that? What do you think about this? I've broken it down pretty much all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, it just kind of scares me a little bit. I don't want to lose Stu. He's a real good guy. I know a lot of the Stewart family. They're really good people. So, yeah, it would just be kind of tragic for him to leave. Yeah, those are my thoughts on it. I just got worried after I saw these reports from this darn T-SIP.
Yeah, that was frustrating.
Saying some dumb stuff.
And then they kind of I tweeted about it. I was like, it's just annoying that this happens. I was like, I'm not saying he did anything wrong. It's just freaking annoying that their side is leaking things about our on roster players who aren't even in the portal. And then I get a bunch of backlash from them saying, well, y'all are talking about Arch entering the portal and speculating about that. Yeah, the fans are. Billy Lucci's not out there talking about Arch entering the portal.
Right.
Mark Passwaters isn't out there talking about him in the portal. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of your top most nails.
Like Mark passed gas.
Yeah, he didn't pass the gas about Arch. And
mm-hmm.
And then one of your top insiders talks about our guy like that. It's a little frustrating. So that's where I was at. But anyway, what else do you got? How you feeling? If you don't have much, that's fine. We can keep it short. But I know you had some coaches on your wish list that didn't make it.
Couple other things. Yeah, no, like my biggest guy, Art Briles. It's kind of sad not to see him seriously be considered. I think he could have done a lot. Another guy, Deion Sanders, is he's just doing a lot out there in Boulder. I think could be really good for our program.
I don't know if you know what's happening, but over these last 2 days, Boulder has lost like 5 commitments.
You're right. But does Boulder
happening.
have the facilities that Texas A&M does? The culture.
That's true. All they have is boulders. That's a good point.
They got boulders. They got buffalo. What do they have? Pot? That's still illegal
they got
in
weed.
College Station.
They have mountains and they got cold weather. But anyway, what else you got? I know you were getting on to something else.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, who is your dream transfer for this program now that Elko is the head coach?
My dream transfer, into the program. Yeah. After I just trashed a UT source for talking about other players leaving.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about who's in the portal. I think Trey Ward is his name, out of Kansas State. I don't know if you know about this guy. He's he's a good running back. He played a lot there. I think he was hurt a bit this year. Kansas State kind of up and down this year. I like A&M's running back room a lot, but there's only 4 names in there, and if one guy transfers out, you have a very light running back room. He's a guy that's going to demand touches, though, so I don't know how he fits in the rotation, but he's a name that I saw today that was interesting. So Ward out of Kansas State, I'll go there. But I love Ruben Owens. I love Le'Veon Moss. I love Bailey. And Amari Daniels, up and down this year. I liked the idea of him. He had a couple of good moments early in the year. You have 4 guys here, but Ward's a guy I had my eyes on all year. He's a good back.
I like Ward. I saw him a bit play college fantasy football with some of my friends. So
Yeah,
I
he was
saw
good.
him.
He was good
He was
there.
good.
Yeah,
He was good.
He's pretty
I
good.
was very disappointed in Raheem Sanders this year, but
Oh,
injury
yeah.
injuries took him out.
Was he like your? Was he a first rounder?
He was my first round pick. He was.
Ooh.
Absolute
Hey,
tragedy.
in the pros, I drafted Cooper Kupp with my first pick. That feels real bad right now. He's not himself.
Well, let me tell you who I drafted with my third pick in my NBA fantasy. It's Jordan Poole, and boy howdy,
Howdy and
boy
goodbye.
howdy, am I feeling a cornucopia of pain from that decision?
Well, he sucks.
But,
I know you drafted Wembenyama too. I think you told me that.
How's
that
I
going?
I told you that. That's going. Yeah, no, it's an experiment, and I'm sticking with him. He's my guy.
I don't know if you know this. I'm from San Antonio, so I love Wemby.
No way.
I love me some Wemby.
Oh my goodness, I'm from San Antonio as well.
I know. You've called in
That's
a couple
crazy.
times. I know the hell about you. All right, what else you got before I let you go?
All right. So I want to get your college football playoff prediction for this year.
Oh my God.
I want to hear your top 4.
Okay. Well, we got Michigan. I think Georgia gets in. I think Georgia beats Bama. That's my easy 2. I predicted them from the start of the year. I'm not jumping off of it yet. Ooh, is Florida State going to make it? I think Florida State makes it. I think Florida State finds a way. I think Florida State's in there. And guys, is it Oregon or Texas? Or Washington? Where are we going? I don't freaking know, man. It's too hard. I'm glad I'm not on the committee. I'm so glad I'm not on the committee. I feel like Texas is the brand. If they win, they're in. But I think they're going to lose, so I'm going with Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've been to a few UT games this year, actually, and I've seen them, and they're pretty good. I think they could do some serious damage if they make it to the college football playoffs, but I really don't want them to make it.
Yeah.
I live in Austin.
Yeah. That would hurt. That would hurt a lot. Yeah. Direct recruiting rival. I mean, rival on the field, rival off the field. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hope Oregon gets that 4th spot, but I agree with your top 3.
Okay.
Having a lot of discussions about it.
Little
recently.
Bo Nix action.
A little Bo Nix action. You know I'm a Bo Nix fan.
Yeah.
I've been talking about Bo Nix since day 1 on this program.
You've been a Bo Nix kind of a guy. Well, all right, Love Shack. If you have nothing else, I'm gonna let you go. Any closing remarks?
I do have one more thing.
What you got?
So this is just a pure hypothetical situation.
Purely hypothetical. Okay.
If the opportunity arose for us to enter a guaranteed 10-1 record next year and college football playoff entry, if you publicly kiss Elko on the mouth, would you do it?
I'm going to have to pass because I think we're going to do that anyway. Thank you for the call. You have a great night, good sir.
Thank you. I hope you're well.
This guy's from Austin, guys. This guy's from Austin. No, I think we can do that anyway. I don't think we need any kind of magic voodoo. I think we can win 10 games next year with the schedule. Damn Austinites. All right. Let's get Lash on the show. Lash, good sir, you're on with Drew. What is on your mind? How you feeling after the Elko hire?
I like it. He actually talks specifics instead of a bunch of Jimbo double talk.
I love that. Yes, it's refreshing.
Yeah, and he just seems like a guy that knows where he's going, knows where he wants to take the program, and has a plan to do it.
Absolutely.
I want to see about how he goes about building a culture. As I was listening to somebody interviewed Lou Holtz earlier this morning, and Lou Holtz said there were 4 steps to building a winning culture someplace. First, you had to learn how to compete. I think we already know how to do that. Step 2 is learn how to win.
Yeah.
Okay. And we still got a ways to go with that one, because as far as, in my opinion, we dropped 3 games we should have won this year.
I would agree with that.
Step three is once you start winning, learn how to handle winning. So you don't just walk in and think that logo on the side of your helmet's going to do it for you. You have to put the work in order to sustain that level. Like Vince Lombardi once said that the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
when I was teaching, I had that one on my wall. Uh, and then step four is uh, once you got all the first three steps in place, then uh, then you actually build the culture where you have what the good teams have now is where the players kind of run things, and all you have to do is just kind of watch over the whole thing. But the players uh, will get a hold of the new guys that come in and says, "This is how we do things here." Uh,
Absolutely.
and then that makes the coach's job a whole lot easier once you got the players going in the right direction, and they help you coach the newcomers. Then it just kind of keeps going from there.
Absolutely. It kind of fuels itself. And that's actually, well, a couple things about what you just said. First of all, the teams that have the high level 5-star guys and that actually buy into the work and the process, that's Alabama and Georgia. Those are the programs that have figured it out, where
Absolutely.
they pass the knowledge down, the corporate knowledge, if you will, and that's that's what makes them successful. They can get those guys. They don't have to worry about the diva aspect. And I don't know if it's that they're picking the right guys and they get the pick of the litter because they're Georgia and Bama and they've built it to what they are, or if the culture there kind of dictates that. Another thing about what you said with Mike Elko, he emphasized the work today, didn't he? He emphasized doing the things that aren't fun about football. He emphasized the lunch pail blue collar stuff. And I loved that. That's what this program needs. But
And you said that there's a price that comes with being in a place where people expect, once they see that you've got what it takes to win the whole thing, they expect you to do it every year.
absolutely. Absolutely. The expectations only increase and that's something you have to work around and work with. So, I don't know. It's just words that he spoke today, but I felt like he said the right things and he could have said the wrong things. So, I mean, I'll
Well,
take it for information.
there's words and then there's words. I listened to Jimbo Fisher, and then I listened to Mike Elko, and Mike Elko, I didn't feel like I needed a pair of chest waders and a shovel afterwards.
Right. Right. Just kind of word soup he threw at you. And of course, I mean, I think you've indicated it. I definitely bought into it. I don't know if you did at first with Jimbo because it
Oh
was all
yeah,
fresh.
absolutely. When
Yeah.
I posted on your site earlier that with Elko I was going to wait and see because I went all in on Jimbo and
Yep.
lived to regret it.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm in the same boat and I want to get your take on Mark Stoops in a second, but with whoever the coach was going to be, I was going to give it wait and see mode. I was going to give it time even if it was Mark Stoops, not the name we wanted. I was going to give it time. And with Elko, I'm really trying hard not to, what's the phrase to use? Bite off more than I can chew, go all in, write
Look
a check that I
look,
can't
look through
cash.
look through rose-colored glasses,
Right, right. I want to be
or
excited
in this
and I
case,
am.
maroon-colored glasses.
Right, right, right. But I don't want to drown in the Kool-Aid just to throw another cliche
Yeah.
at it.
Yep.
It's positive, right? We feel better. We ended the coaching search that got really stressful down to the bitter end of it, and we feel good about that. We're celebrating the guy, seems like the right guy, and then we move forward. But Lash, I want to get your take on everything that happened over the weekend with the hiring of Mark Stoops and kind of where you're at with Ross Bjork at this point.
Okay. Before I go into that, I have one more thing to say about Kool Aid.
Okay.
You know where that saying originally came from?
Where'd that? Oh, isn't it Waco?
No, Jonestown,
Jonestown. That's right.
1970. It was a
Yep.
little before your time.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
but my first year out of A&M was when that happened.
Yes, I heard the story along. I think it was a high school class that got brought up, and yes, I actually do know the origination from it. Yes, it's funny you say that. Absolutely.
Because I'll never forget it was either Newsweek or Time magazine. I'm sitting in my dentist's office, and the picture just had the name of the name of the magazine and bodies everywhere. That was
Right.
the cover of it.
Right.
Like, wow.
Yes.
Anyhow, so no Kool-Aid for me.
No Kool-Aid.
As far as the Stoops Elko thing, my take on it from what I've been reading was that someone, and I don't know who, leaked, that Stoops was the hire, and then all hell broke loose. The fan base flexed, the players flexed, and to his credit, Bjork listened. He said, "I guess I can't hire this Stoops guy, or I'm going to lose half the roster. The fan base is going to be in open revolt." But he could have done a lot better as far as how he tried to explain it.
Sure.
He sounded like somebody in Washington that was been caught with his hand in the proverbial cookie jar.
He did sound like that, and to me, I don't know if this could just be me reading into things too much. He seemed nervous throughout the duration of his speaking moments today. I just sensed a little bit of anxiety from him because I think he knew that there was kind of a weight over him, and that's a really good angle to take with it. And I think there's merit to that, where it got leaked and he didn't expect it. And these coaching searches, they ebb and they flow, and names come up and they go away.
These reporters have their sources, and you don't know who they are, and you say the wrong thing in front of the wrong guy, and he's on the phone to whichever reporter he's in bed with, sometimes
Absolutely.
for a price, and then boom.
Right. So maybe, I mean, that does maybe alleviate some of that responsibility, but I feel like Mark Stoops,
he could have handled it better once the question came up.
That too. That today was a bad look. Absolutely. And then also picking Mark Stoops in the beginning with, although I personally was going to accept it and roll with it, it was a near consensus disagreement. It was nearly unanimous that people did not want Mark Stoops, and I don't know. Is there no foresight there? I would think
what
you
he
would.
should have said once it all hit the fan was mea culpa. This shouldn't have been made public before it was, but it did, and it's on me. And I think after all is said and done, we got the hire right, and let's move on. And it would have looked a lot, but especially with one of your previous callers said with Mike Elko sitting right there. It's like, this is your boss and he's squirming like
That's so awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt bad because there's an elephant in the room that they picked Mark Stoops before they picked Mike Elko. That was the elephant in the room, and Mike Elko's right there. And I think it was such a blessing in disguise. It worked out so well. The outrage, we ended up with Mike Elko, and hindsight's 2020, but we absolutely feel like we got a really good candidate to take the team.
Believe it or not, it could have been worse.
It could have been, and we saw it.
Because I grew up in Chicago, and when I was living up there between the time I graduated from A&M and the time I came back to Texas, the Bears were going to hire a guy named McGinnis, who was the defensive coordinator for the Cardinals at the time.
Yep.
And actually announced it before McGinnis had agreed to terms. And McGinnis said, "Whoa, wait a minute. What kind of a Mickey Mouse outfit is this?"
Yep.
He withdrew his name from consideration, and this was all public. So the Bears had egg all over their faces. Yeah. And they finally wound up with Dick Duran, who wasn't a bad hire, but took a while for the stench to clear out. You know,
Right, right. And I can't imagine Mark Stoops was thrilled with how everything went down. I mean, I don't know if he would have taken the job if they would have pushed through to the end after the outrage and everything that happened. So, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it would have been rough.
yep. That's the same. Like I said, the first thing I thought of when that was, oh God, this is the Bears and McGinnis all over again.
Yeah, it's like having a flashback right there. Well, all right, Lash. Let me ask you this before I let you go because I have a few just more people are
Yeah.
jumping on. It's a popular night tonight, a lot to talk about. But how do you feel about Elko leading us in the future? What do you expect from him on the recruiting front and recruiting his own team? I mean, he seems like a good dude to maybe keep these guys together. What do you think?
I think he's got a better than 50-50 chance of retaining most of the roster. Uh, if the way they reacted when he was hired, uh, and especially if he retains Erob, uh, and I think that's going to happen
Yeah, yeah,
because Erob is not just really popular with the players. He's from what I've heard, he's an elite recruiter. So
yes,
if Elko is a less than elite recruiter, you've got Erob, who can go to bat for him, and then all he has to do is close the deal as the head man once push comes to shove. That's if and again, this was right now. It's all talk. We have to see what actually happens next year.
right.
But he sure sounded like he knew where he was headed a lot more than Jimbo did. I think Jimbo liked to blow smoke up people's keisters.
Yeah, yep, yep. He thought he had all the answers. He thought he could do no wrong. It's what it seemed like. I mean, it really did.
One cliche after. I think there's another saying that I like to. The hungry dog runs the fastest.
Right.
I don't think Jimbo was hungry after he signed that extension. It's just like,
That's a
what are
great.
they going to do? Fire me? They have to pay this massive buyout. So
And that could be some subconscious for him. It doesn't have to be
yeah,
like it doesn't have to be on the top of his mind. It can just be the lack of drive there, and that it could just be a very, very much a factor in his doings is just having a lack of leverage there.
yeah. Whereas, and Bjork, to his credit, and this may be the thing that saves him in spite of uh, the the bad public relations, is this incentive laden contract. If it goes the way I hope it does, where he gets this much for making the playoffs, this much for winning the first round game, and this much if he wins the whole thing, I like that. It's like,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love the structure. I love where we're at. From day one, it feels great. It's a relief. It's a breath of fresh air. It's a change.
at least he learned from the Jimbo extension.
Right, right, absolutely. And the fact that there actually is a buyout and an affordable buyout,
Right.
that's very much welcome. And an $11 million budget to hire his staff with, which
I can't wait till next year. It's just
I know, right? Can't get here
it's not
fast enough.
it's not like I think we're going to be world beaters or anything. Like I said, I'm wait and see, but it looks good on its face, and I want to see if it's as good as it looks. And
Absolutely.
we gotta wait like what 9 months for that.
I know, man. We just gotta
It's
wait. But I'm gonna
me
pay. Go ahead. Sorry.
I can't do pregnant.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm going to really savor this off-season cycle because we're going to gain a lot of information about Elko, about how he does retaining players, recruiting, transfer portal. We're going to gain information in the off-season cycle.
I can't wait to see some of your Wednesday night shows. They should be interesting.
Absolutely. I'll keep them going. Well, Lash, I appreciate you coming on tonight, man. Hope to hear back from you soon.
Oh, absolutely.
Have a good one. Bye. That was Lash. He's here often. All right, guys. We have more people. Okay, we have 5 callers left. Truffle Shuffle is the last one in line. I can't accept any more callers beyond Truffle Shuffle. So if you get in now, I can't get you on. Everyone who's in the waiting room, I'll get to you. We're going to have to speed the calls up a little bit because it's getting late for me, and I do have work tomorrow. But let's get Cooper on the stage. Cooper, you're on with Drew, man. What's on your mind? How you feeling about the Elko hire?
Hey Drew, how are you doing, man?
Doing great, man. I feel good. I feel good after the ceremony today.
I feel so good too, man.
Yeah.
Um, the the most important thing that I took away from his press conference afterwards was when he talked about he wanted to get guys in here that wanted to be here for A&M first and
Yes.
foremost, and all of the other stuff like NIL, high draft picks that would come, you know, as a consequence of
Right.
being here at A&M.
That's a great mantra for life right there. You just need to put your head down and do the work and everything else comes. And if you focus solely on that, you get lost in the grind. That's where all the benefits come. I love that he said that, absolutely. And it showed that he cares about A&M, he cares about representing the university, and we didn't really get a lot of that from Jimbo. So it was super refreshing. I love that too, Cooper.
Yep. Okay, and the second thing was I'm trying to go quick. The second
Oh, no
thing was
worries.
I I hope that we don't. I say we. I hope the administration doesn't make the same mistake with Jimbo in terms of the contract. Like, let's say Elko, like in his second year, goes 10-2, wins a
Yeah.
New Year's Six game. I hope that they don't make the same mistake of, extending his contract
Right.
after one good year, because 2020 was Jimbo's one good year, and then he had the amazing recruiting class, and
Yeah.
after they extended him, he didn't do jack squat. You
Yep.
know.
They jumped the gun. Absolutely. And
Yep.
I don't know if you heard or you might know, but they have the clause in the contract that if he wins 10 games or gets to the playoff that it extends
Yep.
by a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. Maybe alleviates some of the pressure to extend there. Um, it has a buyout. I don't know. I feel good about the structure so far, but I really hope they learn their lesson. It was Ross who extended Jimbo in the first place. I'd like to imagine that he learned his lesson in the interviews that Ross gave. Even before this hire, he talked about making it incentive based and talking about the lessons learned. So I don't know. And how do you feel about Ross at this point?
Man, mixed emotions.
Yeah.
On the one hand, he extended Jimbo's contract, which was an awful decision.
Yep.
Uh, and you had the whole fiasco with Mark Stoops.
Yep.
Uh, but now we have Elko, who's a great hire, I think. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
It,
know.
it ended up
I
right.
think,
It ended up all right. Yeah.
yeah, I think we just maybe need a little more time to see like what he does during the Elko era.
Yeah.
Uh, Hopefully he can rectify some of these mistakes.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be fired anytime soon. I would say that how things went down, it's borderline fireable, definitely a strike. I don't know if he survives, but he made a good hire, we think, at this point. Only time will tell. But all right, Cooper, anything else before I let you go?
So this is actually like in terms of the college football playoff. I've
Sure,
seen this scenario running around. I want to get your opinion on it.
sure.
So the scenario is Michigan undefeated Big Ten champs, Florida State undefeated ACC champs, Texas 12-1 Big 12 champs, and then you have Oregon who wins the Pac-12, but somehow Bama upsetting Georgia, which I don't think that's going to happen.
Me neither do I,
But
but it's possible. It's possible.
yeah, the debate is: do you put in Oregon or Bama?
That is so tough. That is so tough because this is a good Pac-12 year.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good body of work. Man, that is impossible. So we're assuming Florida State, Michigan, and Texas are in. Are those the
yes,
three that we're assuming are in?
yep,
Damn, that is really tough. I mean, I'll be real. It was a down year for the SEC West. It was.
yep.
I mean, as far as the SEC West standards go, I might lean Oregon, and I'm an SEC guy. I'd have to look at the schedules next to each other. Beating Georgia is a really good feather in your cap before the end of the year, though. That's an impossible scenario. I was thinking this on my drive home from work today. Just screw it. Make it a 12-team playoff this year. This is like the year we needed it. We've never needed it as much as the year before it comes. Is that right? I mean, the only other year it was really a controversy was us in 2020 when we didn't make it.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna say Bama because we beat Georgia, and Georgia's like the two-time back-to-back defending reigning champion. That's such a huge win. Plus, you
Interesting.
your only loss is to another playoff team. So I don't know, man. Plus Bama,
because
it's Bama. It's so hard.
I'd put in Oregon. To
You
be
are
honest.
okay. Tell me,
I would put in Oregon.
tell me why. Is it their wins? What are their big wins this year?
Their big wins. They have multiple ranked wins. Like Oregon State was the big one. Who was the other? Didn't they beat Colorado when they were ranked?
Yeah,
Colorado was
yeah,
ranked.
but we know
when they
how
beat
that went, though. We know how that went.
Yeah,
But they would have rectified their one loss, right? They would have gotten it back. Didn't they lose to Washington?
yeah, because they would have beat Washington in the Pac-12
Yes,
title game.
so they would have gotten that one back. So
Yeah.
and
and
it's gross.
honestly,
it's tough.
other than that one game against Washington, they've blown out almost every single team that they've played.
Yeah, man.
Alabama hasn't done that.
That is true. That is true. There's an argument both ways. I don't envy the people in that committee.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Cooper, man, you given me some things to think about because that I hate that. I just can't imagine having to make that decision because you know a fan base is going to be crushed when that happens.
Yep.
You know that's just. I mean, we felt terrible when we didn't make it in 2020. Imagine having like 3 schools that feel the same way. I mean, it's going to be chaos, and 12 team can't come soon enough. Well, I appreciate it, Cooper. You have a good night.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
It's funny you bring up us getting left out in 2020 because it's funny that we play them next year because we play my personal 3 most hated teams: Notre Dame, LSU, and TU. So I'm super excited for.
That's true. That's true. A lot of people, especially Aggies, I don't share it, but I understand it. Hate Notre Dame. Hate Notre Dame.
I can't stand Notre Dame.
Are they? What are they? Are they just a little smug, a little arrogant?
Their fans are pretty arrogant. They think they're college football royalty.
Because of
yeah, because of Rudy.
Yeah.
And also every year that they made the playoffs, I haven't liked them as a playoff team.
That's a good point.
I think they're so overhyped every year just because they're Notre Dame.
And if I'm not mistaken, they lose a lot of rotational players next year. I think we have a chance to gain some style points early in the year. And that's getting ahead of things, but I look forward to that game greatly. I'm going to try my hardest to be at that game. College game day in week 1, that would be amazing. New coach.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Notre Dame versus A&M, it would be awesome. But all right, Cooper, you have a good night, man.
Yeah, thank you, man.
All right. Support Mark Stoops. You're on with Drew. So you're supporting Mark Stoops in this scenario? What are you thinking? Uh-oh, you there? You muted? I think you might be muted. It says you're muted. Unmute. I'm going to have to let you go. I'll let you wait around. Yeah, he just left. All right, we have 3 more callers. Max, you're on with Drew. What is on your mind, my friend?
Okay, I got 3 things. I want to run through them as quickly as possible because time is of the utmost importance.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, 1. Okay, so everyone's been chatting about the offense coordinator hire. And when Elko was talking about the profile of like what kind of offense they want to run, talking about some multiple modern offense, and also thinking about somebody who's worked with a defense background coach and is also attainable. And like, because, sure, it'd be lovely if we could go get Will Stein from Oregon.
Yeah.
But not happening, probably. So the last guy that comes to mind really that isn't in that traditional tree of Elko or someone already at A&M would be Colin Klein at K-State.
Interesting.
He's only in his 2nd year. In his 1st year, when he had some weird quarterback transition stuff where they were on one guy and they switched to another guy, and they did better with the new guy. And it was like they were like in the 20s in SP Plus on the offense, and then this year they rise up to 7th in SP Plus offense, which I think is absurd for K-State.
Right.
I mean, they're doing all that while they're having a bad year by their standards. I mean, they just lost to Iowa State and Farmageddon, and everyone's super angry up there. Like, they have one of the best offenses in the country.
Right.
So I just imagine what he could do at A&M with all the talent.
That's an interesting name. Yeah, I can't say I'm opposed to that. Yeah, what else you got?
Second off, the Mark Stoops versus Mike Elko stuff. The Mike Elko came into Duke one right away, while Mark Stoops was. Both these guys came into really bad teams right away. One of them went for one right away in a worse conference. The other guy took until like his fourth season to even have to even make a bowl game.
Right.
Now, obviously, it's the SEC East versus the ACC, but that's. I mean, it's not that much of. It's not as much of a difference as SEC West to ACC.
Right.
And Mark Stoops had all that time to build up, and he's hit a plateau while he's already achieving those things, which is like only Steve Spurrier has done, which I don't want to get too much on.
Right.
Because I've already commented about it. Third off, I went to A&M. I saw I knew the response was not going to be good. I was joking around how the school would eat him alive, like all the students, and all the fans would eat him alive.
It would have been bad
if he came to the job and he actually stuck around, and instead they eat him alive and spit him out before he even signed the dotted line.
Yeah, yeah, we spat him out like a bad oyster. It was bad.
And then instead you picked the guy that reminds me of the team I'm more used to, because I'm an A&M student. I grew up in Dallas, and I'm an SU fan at heart. We got Lashley back, who was our OC. He went left for Miami, then came back after he was an OC there. And we were in a tough spot because Sonny Dykes left us for TCU, and they were trying to steal all our players, just like, Texas might, be thinking about trying to steal all your players, even if they'll fail.
Right.
And if there's one thing that'll stop that from happening, it's bringing in somebody that you already know. And the only guy who left SMU to TCU there was one offensive lineman, and that was it. They kept everybody else left in that core, and now we're going to a conference championship game for the first time in over a decade. But he's in his second year as a head coach at all. So I really think that continuity, while bringing in what worked from the old staff and then getting rid of everything else, will just be so big for you guys, especially because you're going to keep Elijah too.
Yeah, and on that same line of thinking, do you think there's any merit in maybe looking at keeping Petrino? Because, I mean, there's continuity there. I think he's a lot of experience. We didn't really see him with a fair look at the offense with Jimbo's hand still in that side of things. I mean, is there any merit there? We never really saw a full dress rehearsal really, besides this LSU game.
I think the one concern for Keem Petrino is that it's not like he's established with a lot of the players around. I mean, he's new, and so you're not getting that benefit of keeping a guy the guys already know, because they barely even got to know him, and it wasn't like. I mean, there's been all sorts of chatter about how it was really Jimbo running the show, and Petrino wasn't let loose until after Jimbo got fired.
Absolutely.
So, I feel like you can do better, especially with all that talent you have, and you got a guy who's overachieving at K-State. I'm sure you could pay all the money in the world to get out of there and come down to College Station.
Sure, absolutely.
And get those dog recruiters to come with him, because I'll let that guy run the offense. Somebody else can do the recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what else you got before I let you go?
Not really a whole lot. I just wanted to make sure I fired off all those points, because I think some people don't really get the perspective of what it's like to hire somebody who you used to have when it was working, but you never had not quite had that level of experience to take you. And now, it's funny, SMU is like the baby version of A&M, where we have all this money and we're about to pull in all these guys, and we're going to conference championship next year. Maybe we can win 7 or 8 games in the ACC in our first year. That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
For you guys, you can bring in all that talent. You can win 10 games, 9 games. Maybe make a run for one of those at-large spots.
Absolutely.
In the next 2 years, that'd be fun.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the continuity is going to be huge in retaining players. That's what it's going to be about. 2024 has been a year that we've had circle where the roster comes together, where you have predominantly upperclassmen in your rotation, whereas the last 2 years there was a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores, that legendary 2022 class growing up. Elko's the kind of guy that can retain them. There's that familiarity there. I mean, there's no reason that next year can't have a chance to be that kind of a year. Well, all right, Max, I appreciate you calling in, man. That's some good perspective.
Have fun. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye. That was a good call. All right. Fudge, you are on with Drew, man. What is on your mind? How you feeling about Elko?
What's going on, man? I think the hire's fine.
Okay.
I didn't get to listen to the show early on, so if I repeat any points that were said already, I apologize. I just
That's
kind of
fine.
wanted to remind some of the A&M fans of Elko's tenure here, because there seems to be some like really hardcore rose tinted glasses for his like defensive assignments as it related to the elite competition that we faced.
Okay.
So in 2018, Bama and LSU, the two best teams that we faced, both dropped 45 and 72 on us respectively. LSU we won, amazing game, but the point still stands. 2019, Bama drops 47, Mississippi State 30, LSU 50 points. 2020, Bama 52, 2021, Bama 38. So while Mike Elko is an elite defensive mind, when we play elite competition, the style of defense that he runs in the 4-2-5 is especially susceptible to the deep pass play. And if you look at it each year, in 2018, Bama had three scores of 30, 23, and 57 yards. In 2019, 30, 33, 47. LSU had a 78. In 2020, Bama had a 78, 87, and 63-yard play. So if Elko is genuinely going to be successful here, I think the key to that success is going to have to be recruiting defensive back at not just an elite level, but getting the guys that are actually the best in the conference. Bama won a national championship against what I would consider a talented Ohio State team with Pat Surtain, Josh Joe, or God, I forgot what his name was, Josh Jobe, and a bunch of other Xavier McKinney, a lot of defensive backs that were extremely, extremely talented.
Yeah.
If you think that's a 2018 Clemson when they won, they have AJ Terrell, Isaiah Simmons, the other dude that the Raiders drafted. You have to be able to recruit at that high level, specifically at that position.
I agree. Let me comment real quick. So just to be clear about the LSU game, that was a 7 overtime game, right? I mean, a lot of those points were in overtime.
For
the
sure.
2019 LSU team, that was an all-time offense. And if you have, like you're getting at, if you have a top-of-the-line secondary, that's your only chance at stopping that. So to your point, yes. But even that offense was probably better than a top-of-the-line secondary at the time, right? I mean, that was one of the best we'll ever see. Same with 2020 Bama. And what was it, 2021 Bama as well? Or is that when it started falling off? Those are some of the best offenses I remember. I just want to be clear. But that it does kind of lend itself to your point that it is paramount to recruit at that position specifically.
Yeah, it's never going to be easy in this conference.
Right, correct.
The idea that we're going to every year it's going to be elite competition, no matter what. So he has to get better at that.
Sure,
because
I mean it's going to come down to personnel there. But yes,
when you run a 6-man blitz, you're open, you're cover zero.
Yeah.
So your free safeties have to be elite athletes.
Sure.
Demani Richardson wasn't ever really that. Leon O'Neal never really was that. And that was Mike Elko's responsibility.
Sure.
I believe he is the type of guy that can recognize that and fix that.
Sure.
But if we actually want to look like, say, like, here are some steps for genuine success, not just like, here's a guy that we hired, here's another 8-4 season, here's the same thing. Those recruiting battles we're going to have to win.
Right. Keep Terry Bussey. I mean, there's some guys right now we could get. Really sucks what you lost in the portal last year. 4 solid corners all gone in the portal.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's going to haunt us for the next 4 or 5 years. So.
And it's been an issue at A&M the entire time during Jimbo's tenure.
It has.
We've had somewhat slow, unathletic defensive backs here.
Yep.
For the most part. And it's not like the receiver competition is going to be easier.
No.
It sucks you have to go against, the Jalen Waddles, Devontae Smith, Jeffersons, but it's the SEC.
Sure.
Like it just is what it is.
Yep.
We're going to play against Xavier Worthy this next year.
I heard he's going pro. I heard he's leaning.
Oh, is he going pro?
That's what I heard.
Well, I'm sure Sark's got someone.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But I mean, how do you think he's going to do recruiting wise? Because I've been hearing both sides. He's a lazy recruiter. I mean, that's maybe a little bit extreme, but I've heard that he's great at facilitating, developing relationships. Where do you stand on at least predicting what level of recruiter Mike Elko can be at A&M?
I think that's really entirely up to him. It'd be hard to predict in one facet or another.
Sure.
I think the thing that's most important there is that, I don't know if you read that, I'm sure you did, but that Athletic article by Sam Kahn talking about Jimbo Fisher as related to that number 1 class.
Yep.
Where he wasn't really worried about the character issues there. So he took a guy like Denver Harris. He took a guy like their receiver, Chris Marshall.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because he wanted the number 1 class. Like, it's one thing to win at recruiting in the numbers, but if the guys don't play, like our class would have been the third best class without the guys that had to leave because of character issues.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
what are you winning?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
it's just get talented players. If you have a scheme that you believe in, make sure that it's actually implementable. And then the thing here is that if it's not going to be more of the same, we have to beat the Bamas, the Georgias, the Texases, OUs now. And this next season will be much easier.
Yep.
But it's a very, very solid litmus test on whether or not this proof of concept is actually legit. And what's nice is the contract allows us to move on from it. But
Absolutely.
we'll
All right.
see.
While I have you, do you have any OC names where you want to see the offense go? We've talked about the defense, the need for secondary.
Sure.
Where are you at on the offense?
I don't think Bobby Petrino would be the worst thing in the entire world. If that ended up being the case, but I think his career was really bolstered by a Lamar Jackson level athlete, and people tend to forget that he wasn't really a huge name prior to that, and then he had a Heisman.
Yeah.
Mizzou's offensive coordinator is a guy that's been thrown around a lot. I really like Coach Marion at UNLV. He was a wide receiver at Texas under Steve Sarkisian. And you can watch a couple of his videos on YouTube. He has a thing called the Go-Go offense, which is a really cool system where the idea is that you want to get the ball to your athletes in space, but moreover than that, you want to get the ball to them in space while they're moving.
That
Because it
seems
makes
like
them
a
much harder to
Sark.
tackle.
That's kind of what Sark seems really
Exactly. And so he just took that style.
Yeah.
And
pretty
so
cool.
I think he would be a really cool one to look at. Some people are saying he's getting some head coach nods, but UNLV's in the Mountain West championship game, so like
Yeah.
he's doing something right over there. And so, but I think like you need to be able to use athletes. Like Anaya Smith only had one catch against LSU. That's
Right.
insane. It should say put him in motion.
Yeah.
Do something.
I know.
Don't waste
crazy.
talent.
Yep.
So I'm seeing the dude talking about his head coaching career at Arkansas and Brody Smith. Go look at his offensive statistics. He was a big name because Arkansas overperformed, but not because the offenses were genuinely good. But yeah, so I think Petrino would be fine.
Yeah.
But we'll see there. I trust Elko to make smart hires.
Yeah.
It's just he needs to develop a winning roster, which we
Absolutely.
haven't really had.
Absolutely. We shall see. Well, all right, Vudge, if you have nothing else, I'm going to let you go for the night. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Have a good one. Hope you call back soon. Bye. All right, we have two more callers, and then I'll hang out in the chat for a little bit before I go, but get through these two callers pretty quickly. Truffle Shuffle, you're not connected. I'm going to go to the next caller. If you can connect by the time I'm done with the next caller, we'll take your call too. Oh, you just connected. Truffle Shuffle, you're on with Drew, man. What is on your mind, my friend?
Not much, man. I think the biggest thing that I've said kind of a couple times in the chat is that just overall, like, coaching hires remind me of like the NFL draft, right? Like when it happens, you're either like super pissed off or you're happy about what you think your team's going to win the Super Bowl, and you just don't know until a couple of years.
It's all a guess. Yeah.
Right.
Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
Can you hear me?
Now I got you back. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, sorry. I got to make sure my phone doesn't get locked. Yeah, I thought Elko was the right hire from the very start, right? You save the recruiting class, you kind of keep everything intact, and I really think that they wanted Dan Campbell, and this is something where, hey, we can see how things go for a couple of years, and if not, things are going to fall apart in Detroit. It's Detroit,
Yeah.
right? So then we can go back and get him in a couple of years, but I'm just excited. I like everything that he's saying. I don't know. Yeah.
He certainly said the right things today. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. We could have gotten coach speak, which we just dealt with for quite a while, and he said the right things. He seems to have the right mentality. I mean, I just want to see what he does with his offense, man, and what kind of players he retains and who he recruits. I mean, where are you on that front? Do you think he's the kind of guy that can get that stuff done?
I do. And again, I go back to, I mean, like when Texas hired Sark, they're like, oh God. I mean, he failed everywhere he was as a head coach, but then he went through the Saban rehabilitation program, right?
Yeah, right.
And did good. I mean, you can go on and on. Even Saban was like 35 and 20 some at Michigan State. Like, you just never know. I think he does well. I mean, what he's done in that short stint, I know it's limited. at Duke, he's maximized what he's completely turned that culture around.
Absolutely.
And who knows where they'd have been if they'd have had their quarterback this year.
Absolutely. They started losing once he went down. I mean, I think they were 5-1, 4-1 when he went down, and then the losses started coming in after that. It was a big factor. I mean, losing your quarterback, we know here, it means a lot. So, yeah, it truly seems like the culture shifted at Duke, and it's not a school that's known to be good at football. It's just not. I mean, it's a basketball school. They're rarely, above 500 even? I mean, yeah, he's done a lot there, and I think it's a good sign. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that was that. I will say the one question I wanted to ask you was that, and as Aggie fans, we know, man, like our offensive line has been horrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our offense has been horrible. And so, and even one of the last callers was talking about Elko and different stats from years past with his defense. And the question that I have is, how much of this team was limited overall by the offense, and by and I've tried. I only played high school ball, so I don't know all the intricacies of everything. But you hear about the pro style offenses and how complicated they are and how hard they are to run. And when you look at modern football, I think it adds up, right? Like you got all these players that they're not staying 4 years. They're graduating, going to the NFL early if they're good, right? And that happened to the Aggie offensive line numerous times. Sternberger, the tight ends, going early, and so when you don't have those guys that are veteran guys to make the right decisions, to run the right routes, to block the right guys, is it the coaches? Is it the players? Like, there's so much is just because Jimbo was so stubborn and changing. And I just find it ironic that last game, when we beat, what was it?
Mississippi State,
like they just they went back to like, seemed like RPOs and just easy stuff from like, just run, go do it.
Yeah.
And they've been doing good. Like, and I just go, was that it the whole time?
Yeah. I think it's a major factor, if not the biggest factor. You look at 2020. That's the year Jimbo's offense was its most successful. And I think Vudge made this point a couple shows ago. Vudge was the guy I just had on. That year, they had a senior offensive line. They had a really good, veteran, intelligent offensive line. And everything worked the way it was supposed to work that season. In Jimbo's offense, I'm not a great X's and O's guy either. I played high school. I played 1 year in college. I'm not like a pro. I'm not super sharp. From what I can tell, Jimbo's offense relies a lot on the quarterback making reads and a lot on the quarterback having several seconds to make those reads. That means that the offensive line has to hold their water for maybe a split second more than one of those quick-firing modern-day offenses. So, yeah, I think having a subpar or even a young and inexperienced offensive line lends itself to a lot of deficiencies. I think that you feel the pain of a bad offensive line, or not even a bad offensive line, an average offensive line, much more in a system like Jimbo's, where it's run heavy, it's old school run heavy, not a lot of zone reads. They still did run zone read, but it's very old school run, a lot of just letting your blocks develop. And when your offensive line is not top of the line, I think the whole offense struggles. And I think we saw that time and time again. It felt like the offense was always on its heels under Jimbo. It felt like points were always at a premium. It felt like every drive was a desperate effort. And I think it usually stemmed from the offensive line or just bad quarterback play. We saw very inconsistent quarterback play from Calzada, from Haynes King in his short time here, from Max Johnson. The only one that we saw look actually very competent in this system was Connor Wegman, and he's a whiz. He's there's a reason he's a 5-star. And he was able to process everything because he just has a great mind for the game, great eyes for the game. And even with bad protection, he was able to see things develop and make lemonade. And I don't think it's any coincidence that it was offensive line and quarterback all kind of in relation with Jimbo's scheme. So you don't get to see your receivers show out when everything's falling apart at the line of scrimmage. Running backs don't have places to run when it's all falling apart at the line of scrimmage or on your pre-snap reads. There are a lot of pre-snap reads in football, but more so in Jimbo's old school pro-style offense. A lot more demand on your quarterback to make calls at the line of scrimmage. That's what I gather, and I think that's kind of the root of everything. And like I'll say it again, like Budge said, it was great in 2020 when you had an absolutely good, seasoned veteran offensive line. And unless you have that and a quarterback that's at least experienced, if not a wizard like Wigman is, things just don't look good. And I don't think Jimbo ever adjusted to his personnel very well. I think that was his big downfall. I think he came in with the mindset that he wants to do things the way that got him the championship in the first place. And with that team, what I said about that offensive line in 2020, apply that to Jimbo's entire 2013 team. That was a professional team. That was a veteran team. That was a legendary quarterback. Everything fell into place there. They could run that offense. But you don't see it that often in college for a reason. So great question, man. Yeah, you got me to rant there. So I think it's all related. I think it's all part of it.
That's good. I'll leave you. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I appreciate it, man. You're doing great stuff. My one deal is people have been asked about the college football play, like the playoffs this year. I will say my I wouldn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
No.
But I will say this, like, if I was on the committee, I hate saying this because I'm kind of a closet Florida State fan, just because I posted when I was in the Army, we got to jump into one of their football games. I was on the parachute team.
Okay, that's fair. That's a good enough reason.
It was just amazing atmosphere, anything, whatever. But you don't have your quarterback. Do they take that into consideration? Because they've earned it. Florida State needs to be they've done everything right, but God, you just barely walked away from a team that's not even bowl eligible in Florida. Not a good team. And it's like, ever since you lost your quarterback, you're not the same team. And do you deserve to be in the conversation with the Oregons, the Texas, the Bamas? But I'll let you go, man. I just want to hear your thoughts on that, and I appreciate everything you're doing and look forward to more content. Take
Absolutely.
care, man.
Thanks for the call, man. Dude, like you said, I wouldn't want to be even close to that committee room. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to be close to it. That's something I'd even take into consideration with the previous question. The fact is, you have humans in that room just sitting down, having a discussion. And if you're taking every variable into account, that's a variable. And you have a very close race. They have a great body of work, but they lost one of the main reasons, one of the main factors that got them there. If it's me, I think I lean on the body of work. They've earned it. They're there, but I don't know what they'll do. I'd put Florida State in if they win. I think I would. But when it's so close, you're very tempted to use that as a reason to take them out. And I would not be upset. I mean, I know like people like Josh Pate are very adamant that Florida State deserves in. I wouldn't be surprised, shocked. I wouldn't be upset if Florida State didn't make it for that reason. I think, me personally, I would let them in because body of work matters. But I get it, man. Don't want to be close to that room. Okay, let's see if it works this time. Support Mark Stoops. You're on with Drew. Last caller of the night. Are you supporting Mark Stoops through this whole debacle? What is wrong with you, sir?
I'm supporting Mark Stoops, man. I think he was the right hire.
Is this support Jimbo?
Definitely not.
Okay. Why do you support Mark Stoops?
This man's been a coach of a pretty less than mediocre program in Kentucky historically.
Great reason. I see why you like him.
And he's had them playing at a pretty good level for many years. They were absolutely terrible when he took over. I think he was the right hire, man.
That's a good point, but don't you feel like he's kind of run his course already? We've kind of seen how much he can maximize a program. I know Kentucky's not exactly Texas A&M, but that's an SEC school. You don't think that he could get those donors to pony up and maybe get that thing going a little bit? I mean, it's been 11 years, right? I mean, he did have some success there. He had 2 10-win years. We haven't had any 10-win years. But I don't know. I feel like that kind of coach has run his course. And if you're going to get an established guy, my thing was you shoot for the stars. You get the Ryan Day if he was actually available, which I don't think he was. You get a Dan Lanning who wasn't actually available. He's not even that established. You get a Dabo Swinney, which a bunch of Aggies didn't even want. I don't know how you can say that. I mean, I wasn't going to just, I wasn't going to throw a fit if they got Mark Stoops, but I don't know how you can say he's better than Mike Elko. Mike Elko has everything to play for. He's like, I forget which caller said it. He's the hungry dog. He has everything to earn still. He has everything to build, to prove. He's here to make a name for himself. And that's a driving force as opposed to Jimbo, who had no buyout, was going to get paid regardless, had already won a championship, and was a stubborn type of person. But, if you're going to support Mark Stoops, I support you.
Well, maybe Elko's just a starving dog that dies, doesn't find any food.
It's possible. It's possible. You can't grade it yet. We don't know what it's going to be yet. What do you think of Mike Elko? I have trouble discovering your allegiance. I don't know if you're truly an Aggie. I'm pretty sure your name used to be support Jimbo. Now you're support Mark Stoops. I think you're just a chaotic enigma that exists on the airwaves of YouTube. But yeah, I don't know what I asked you, but answer it.
Listen, not many can comprehend my mind. Okay.
Can you?
I don't think so.
Okay. Go on.
What is it about Elko that you something about the players won't transfer out or something?
All right, I'll explain it. He was here before. He was beloved. For whatever reason, players constantly talked about him, specifically how much they liked their system. Buddy Johnson comes to mind. Fadil Diggs, Bobby Taylor. Back when he played, guys like I believe Matabike said things. Was that before his time? I forget who it was. A lot of players talked about him. Bobby Brown. DeMarvin Leal always talked highly of him. And they always referred to his scheme and their trust in him. Players love this guy. And a lot of players that are on the roster now were either recruited by him or were straight up coached by him. And I think that not only do you have a better chance to retain those specific guys, but I think that that response could potentially be contagious within the locker room. And that's kind of the hope, the piece of the puzzle that kind of keeps this thing together.
So we're excited about retaining players that have gone 12-12 the past 2 seasons. Well, whoop de fucking do.
Well, let's be real. 5-7. You had a lot of injuries, unprecedented amount of injuries. You're playing an unprecedented amount of true freshmen. Sure, we wish we would have won maybe 7 games that year. I think we should have. We lost, 4 games by 6 or less points? Yeah, you wish the coach would have pulled one out of his ass and won one of those games or 2 of those games. 5-7 was not acceptable, even in that situation, to me. You don't lose to App State at home. You don't lose to South Carolina after giving up the opening kickoff. You win the rest of the game besides that play. That's 2 wins right there you should have had. So those players, I mean, you had players that had no business playing as much as they did throughout the entire roster, throughout the entire rotation that year. Not to excuse it, Jimbo still should have won at least 7 games that year. The next year, this year, I'm of the opinion that this team should have won 2 or 3 more games. They were all close. We've been in every game. We lost our starting quarterback. We lost our starting quarterback, and we've barely lost most of these games. Tennessee should have won it. Ole Miss, your corners are healthy. You win that freaking game. I'm dying on that hill. Trey Harris went off on us. That was the difference maker in that game. I think this roster is much better than that record you indicated. I think that this roster has all the potential in the world. This is going to be an upperclassman dominant roster next year. And we all know that those teams are the ones that make the most noise in college football, typically. Unless you're like a Georgia that just, they recruit 5-star talent and they have the culture right. So that's the ultimate goal that you're working towards. You got to build your way up to that. Yeah, I don't remember what you asked.
I think that's pretty dumb what you just said there.
Oh, I don't remember what you asked, so it probably made no sense. What else you got?
Yeah, well, listen, we're going to have to agree to disagree. I'm a Mark Stoops guy. I like what he did at Kentucky.
Well, we didn't get him. What are you going to do about
San Antonio. Well, I'm going to
Yeah, shut up. Okay, yeah, go on. Continue.
So you do that.
Shut up.
You're from San Antonio, correct?
Continue. Yes, I am.
So I'm guessing you're a Spurs fan.
I'm a Spurs fan. Yes, I am.
What did you think of Greg Popovich telling the crowd to stop booing Kawhi Leonard?
Did anybody see that in the chat? I didn't like it. Fans are allowed to freaking boo or hiss.
Look, let me tell you something right now. If I buy a ticket, I do whatever the hell I want. If I'm not cussing. I'm not throwing shit at him. If I want to boo, I want to boo. That snake in the grass.
I agree. Yeah, you're paying the bills for the NBA, essentially. You can boo. You can freaking boo if you want. And Kawhi Leonard screwed the Spurs. He handled it like a child, like a diva. Half the NBA are divas. Don't even get me started. I'm a big Spurs fan because, I lived through the Tim Duncan era. Of course, I'm a Spurs fan. Half the NBA are divas. I'm glad I'm a Spurs fan. And Kawhi, we should boo that guy. If you know you.
Yeah, and I won't talk about the Spurs too much, but I'm just tired of Popovich. I mean, we're 3-15, whatever we are. It's just terrible. It's a joke.
Yeah. What else you got? What do you think about this whole playoff situation?
My prediction of how I think it's going to shake out.
Yeah, how do you think it's going to shake out?
I think it's going to be Georgia #1.
Georgia beats
I
Bama.
think
Okay. Okay.
Michigan. I think Michigan is the most clear team to make the playoff because I mean Iowa's a joke.
Yeah,
let's be
they're
real.
in. They're in. Watch them lose.
Num-
No, they're going to win.
#3, I think, is going to be Oregon. And #4 is going to be Texas. I think that this guy has a wife beater on right now.
Do you?
SB Hustler. Shut your mouth, boy. Anyways,
Yeah,
I said fourth team's
that's
going
what
to
a
be
wife beater
Texas.
would say.
Fourth team's going to be Texas.
I think Texas loses this weekend. Anyway, someone
What?
asked. What?
Really? You think that?
I know. They're
Well,
gonna
okay.
they're gonna choke.
What were you about to say?
I was just gonna answer this question. Yeah, I'm gonna answer the chat before I go. I'm gonna give it like 10 minutes of chat time. What else you got before I let you go? Support Mark Stoops. I can't believe you said some of the things you said tonight. You've made me question the human race, and I don't know if I want to. I'll pick up the phone if you call back again. Don't worry, but I'm gonna think about
Well,
it first.
I'm definitely going to call back
I know you will.
after Mike Elko goes 5-7 next year. We're going to be regretting this shit.
Okay.
All right, sir. You have yourself a fine night, and I'll call in maybe next week.
I'm sure you will. Thank you, Support Mark Stoops. Formally support Jimbo. That was Support Mark Stoops. Can't say I'm surprised. He's called in before. All right, guys. I'm going to spend maybe 10 minutes talking to you guys through the chat. So whatever questions you have or wherever you want to take this, we'll do that for the last few minutes, and then we'll get out of here. It's been a great show tonight, guys. I decided to do an impromptu show just because so much has happened over the weekend, and we've had a great turnout. We had 70 to 80 viewers this whole time. That's a record. I had like around 55 to 60 for the ring dunk. So you guys are awesome. If you're still in here, if you could throw me a like and subscribe, I would appreciate that. We're trying to grow this, get even more people in here. And if this show keeps going the way it was today, we're going to maybe start doing 2 a week. And maybe I'll start going a little bit longer, start at maybe 7:30 and go till this time. But if you could throw me a like and a subscribe, that would be amazing. I'm getting tired, but we're going to power through this. College football is crazy with the polls and committees. Yes, it is. What's up, Gridiron Masters? Good to see you. Matabike had 2 years with Elko. That's right. I thought he was. I don't know. I just know a lot of defensive players spoke really highly of him. I know DeMarvin Leal definitely did. I'm blanking on if Matabike had that kind of connection. One problem with trying to hire a guy like Kirby Moore, he probably doesn't want to leave because he's not far from getting a head coaching job. Yeah, absolutely. And with the high expectations here, yeah, there's a good chance you could maybe fall back if things don't go right. It's a good point. Elko is going to take this Aggie team, fix what's under the hood, and make it run just like a Mercedes AMG. Yeah. If he can retain this team, I think everybody gets better, both mentally, intangibles-wise, work ethic-wise. I think the work ethic of this team is just poised to explode. I really wonder what these players are thinking. I haven't checked Twitter this whole show, obviously. Have there been any updates? Can anybody tell me if anything's happened? Any transfer news? Any nuggets? I don't think probably nothing's happened. It's late on a Monday. Fun fact, Fisher. What's up, David Franz? Fun fact, Fisher blamed the defense, Elko, for both the Ole Miss and LSU losses. Elko left for Duke right after that. Did he? I felt like it was always the offense that held A&M back through Elko's time here. And the people that point and laugh about A&M's record while Elko was defensive coach or defensive coordinator, I think, okay, yeah, it was the offense, right? The offense was typically what held this team back. Didn't he have like a top 5 defense in 2021 and the offense was just terrible? Is that right? He blamed the defense in the Arkansas loss. Yeah. With all the experience this team had from playing time last year, they should have won at least 3 more games. Yeah, absolutely. I understand, losing games. I understand maybe only winning 7 games last year with the hand you were dealt with injuries. 5-7 is in no world acceptable, even in the worst case scenario. That's coaching, right? It has to be. It has to be. Truffle Shuffle, thank you so much for the $4.99. I appreciate you, good sir. That's very generous of you. Is Connor playing in the bowl game? So I actually got an update on this. The last home game, ACU, is the last update I heard on this, and he is still in a boot and crutches. So that tells me highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. It'd be amazing, but I don't see any possible way that happens with him still in a boot and crutches 2 weeks ago, right? I don't think there's a recovery there. He had major surgery on that foot. He had a broken bone in his foot. I just don't see it. It would be an amazing experience. It'd be an amazing story. I just don't think it happens. What's up, Adam H? I like the Mike Elko hire. I see a lot of potential. Not sure who the guy on the line is, but wow, that was shocking, right? This guy was support Jimbo. Now he's support Mark Stoops. What has this guy been smoking? I don't know. Like battery acid or something. It's a troll, lol. Yeah, he's definitely a troll. But I don't know. I feel like there's some truth behind the troll veil. Popovich and Biden's ages combined 2 million. Yeah, he's getting there. All right, we have an anti-Elko. Let's entertain it. Okay, Drew, Elko wasn't the right hire. Lane Kiffin was. Don't care about the locker room issues it would cause. He's the only coach in the SEC who's proven he can do less with more. Okay. I was never opposed to Lane. In hindsight, I do appreciate the player reaction to Elko. I don't know what the player reaction would have been to Lane. I also acknowledge that player reaction is not the end-all, be-all in a coaching search. You can't make a decision only because a bunch of players want that to be the case. It can still be a factor, but it shouldn't be the only factor. So yes, I agree that it doesn't. I don't. It's not the end all be all that the locker room issues would occur. Having said that, I've said this many times. I'll repeat it. I'll keep repeating it forever. 2024 was always a year where A&M had potential to break through. And I don't know what breaking through means. I don't know if that means winning 9 or 10 games. I don't know if that means making the playoff. I don't know what it means. The roster and the schedule both align to be very promising next year. I don't want to jeopardize that. That's kind of why I was okay with keeping Jimbo 1 year. I'm also, in hindsight, okay with letting him go because there's a good chance you fall short next year the way you felt short last year. And falling short next year with a talented roster, maybe that means winning 9 games and just missing the playoff, but 2 of those losses are games you felt like you should have won. Just at the margins, but kind of like at a higher level. So I'm okay with it. In hindsight, I feel so good about Elko. At this point, I wouldn't even want to see Lane, but hindsight's 2020. I was team Lane though. That is a not so fun fact, David Franz. Every A&M coach's century has been fired 3 to 4 years after a guaranteed contract / extension, which is part of the beauty of the specific structure of this new contract, gaining a year on the contract every time. I forget what it is. It's either making the playoff or winning 10 wins. The contract extends by 1 year after that, so there's no need for major extensions as long as they're winning. And the incentives are mighty. It's a $33.5 million extension if they win it all. It's I believe, $1 million extension for making the playoff, and there's a bunch for advancing within there. I think that's enough to keep someone around. Plus, you have the buyout. Hopefully, that alleviates some of that. But yeah, it's an awful look, and I see what you're always saying about Chancellor Sharp, and I think there's something to that. We fired Jimbo without a plan. I think the plan was to get him the hell out, and yeah, I was never a fan of that, but by chance, I think we've landed in a good spot. By chance. Lane is the clown at the sideshow. Lane is a clown. He tweeted about us again today about the. Can you believe people have issues with the war hymn at the ceremony? It was another point and laugh at A&M moment. I thought it was awesome. That's our fight. That's our school song. I mean, come on now. You're going to laugh at that? Whatever. We're unique, and you're talking about us, and we once again went viral. So A&M is freaking famous, and you can go cry. Problem with Lane, he's never been known to make the right defensive hire. Also, it would have been a complete roster overhaul. Yes, and that's not what I wanted to do, specifically with the way things look in 24. That's why. It was nice seeing Connor supporting Jalen all day at ACU. Absolutely. Those two, Moose Noah and Marcel, appear to be very tight. Yes, absolutely. He's a clown. He hates the guy, but he's the best coach in the country outside of Kirby, Saban, and Harbaugh. I don't know about that. What's his biggest win on his career? LSU this year? Besides that, he has... What has he done? How can you say he's the best coach? I think he's a great option. I think he has a lot of potential as a coach, but with his body of work, I don't see how you can say he's the best coach behind them. I think he's a great up-and-comer, and he could become that. I acknowledge that, but I don't think he's there yet. I think that's premature. I don't want that up-tempo offense. It seems to only work. I'm assuming you meant when you can exploit the seams of the sport, not so much the scheme of the defense. The schemes of the sport, I think. About up-tempo, I don't like an up-tempo offense. I like a varied tempo offense where you can control the tempo, bend it to your will, go slow when you need to, go fast when you need to. That's what we used when I played, and it was awesome. You could slow down if you needed to milk clock, or if you needed to go slow, if you needed to be methodical. If the other offense was really explosive, you could slow down. If you had them on your heels, you could speed up. You just need to be able to go. You need to be able to adapt, and that's exactly what Elko mentioned today, and I love that. Yes, I so agree with this, Rangers King. Elko hitting on connecting with the THSCA out of the gate is just such a big deal. I really think they're going to love him, even though he's an outsider. If he hires some Texas high school coaches as support staff, i.e. director of high school relations, he'll be set. Absolutely. It's something that Jimbo didn't prioritize, even though Jimbo recruited great because he's recruited nationally. It's so huge to develop those relationships, and I think, yes, a guy like Elko, a blue-collar workman type of guy, I think he was great to get them out in the forefront right away. I think it's a huge deal. I totally agree. No, Lane has a bunch of JV kids playing just behind Bama and LSU. Imagine what he could do with our resources. The other coaches he named have the strongest or near best rosters in their conference. Sure, but every time he's been at a major program, it hasn't worked out. You could be right, but I don't see it yet. I just don't. And why does he have a bunch of JV kids? He hasn't recruited at the highest level, and I know he's at Ole Miss, but he still hasn't done it. I need to see it first. I acknowledge the possibility, though. I definitely do. I would have loved Lane, but I'm very happy with Elko. He also can't beat Bama, but who can? Not many. If we are 9-3 every year, that means we'll be 10-2 ever so often, and that's playoffs in the SEC. Absolutely, and I'm asking for us to get there first before we're, contending. We need to at least get there. We need to form some consistency, some continuity, so we can develop a culture of winning, which we just do not have and haven't had for a long time. A culture of winning. And it starts with that. I think 10-2, if this roster is retained the most possible, which we think it's going to be under Elko, I do not see how 10-2 is not possible next year. At least possible with the schedule. Let's see if I can remember it all. I think I talked about it earlier, but we'll go through it real quick. It's Notre Dame at home, McNeese at home, Ball State at home, LSU at home, Texas at home. I'm missing some home games. Arkansas neutral. I believe at Auburn, at Mississippi State, at South Carolina. Those are very manageable road games. Did I say at Florida? Home versus New Mexico State, and home versus Missouri. I did it. That's a favorable-ass schedule. I know Missouri's good, but you have them at home. I don't know what they're losing next year. They're probably going to be pretty good, but you have them at home. Texas and LSU, the best two teams on the schedule, you have them at home. And they're not going to bring, Alabama talent. They're not going to bring Georgia talent. They're going to bring comparable talent. A&M has a good chance to beat LSU. They've done it many times over the last 6 years. Jimbo's tenure. A&M can beat Texas. Very comparable talent. Very favorable schedule. 10 wins. Sure, why not? Keep the roster, though. People will hate on anything A&M does. They won't shut up until we start winning. That's true. All right, guys, we'll do a couple more, and I'm going to have to go for the night. There's a lot of talk about Mike Elko versus Riley Leonard for the opener. That'd be awesome. Plus, Notre Dame is Mike Elko's former team. A lot of storylines there. That'd be really fun if Riley Leonard transfers to Notre Dame. Let them laugh at the cultish stuff now, because when the cultish stuff beats you, it hurts your soul even more. I can't wait. Beat Texas with it. Yep, Mizzou at home. That was the last one. LSU and Texas at home. Absolutely. Yes, Notre Dame at home. All the tough ones are at home. We haven't beaten Missouri at home since 2012. Have we played them at home? We beat them at Missouri in 2021, which was surprising to see us actually go out there and have a clean game after beating Bama, no hangover. But Missouri was pretty bad that year, and it was in an empty stadium. I don't remember. You're probably right. I don't care. I think we can beat them at home next year if the roster's retained. People just can't watch football and admire their team. They have to be ridiculed for it. I know. Don't you? If any of y'all are on X, and by the way, if you could follow me on X, we have a lot of fun there too. But when I post something that's even remotely positive, you get a Texas troll with like 40 followers in there with some like bullshit remark. It's like, do you have nothing better to do than go for like some fans' positive comments about A&M's new hire? Do you have anything better to do with your life than go in there and point and laugh and try to put me in my place? Like, come on, what are you, like the thought police? SB Hustler. I really hope Wigman has a healthy year next year. It's his time. We could really put everything together. Also, the new strength and conditioning coach, yes. Going to pay dividends, absolutely. And injuries, been a problem over the last few years. I don't know how much of a tangible fix that is, but I don't think it can hurt. I think he seems like a great guy to have around the guys year round. And yeah, Wigman needs to stay healthy. That kid is special. They won in 02, 10, and 14. Okay. Look, that sucks, but if this roster's back next year, I'm going to pick A&M in that game unless things just go south. We can break that trend, David. Yep, S&C coach. A lot of guys like it. Yep, can Mizzou sustain success? We don't know that yet under Drink. The saying, there's nothing gayer than a grown man barking like a dog at another man. That's a great one. Aggies have had to lose a game, just run out of time sometimes. That's exactly right. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Great long stream. Tons of people tuned in. Tons of people called in. Great night, guys. I appreciate all you guys. Last time I'll ask if you could like and subscribe, if you could tell a friend about the show. We're trying to grow it. Have a lot of fun here. You guys make this show awesome. This is definitely my favorite show to do. I mean, I want to do this one twice a week if possible. And if we can keep the viewership up like this for the next few weeks, I think we could justify maybe doing a second show a week. But for now, for sure, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. I'll add more shows as necessary. Guys, y'all have a great night. I appreciate you. I'm going to be back for another live show Wednesday. I'll go as long as we can go. As long as there's callers, we'll keep going. So I appreciate you being here, guys. Let's, beat the hell out of the off season? We're not there yet. Beat the hell out of recruiting. Have a good night, guys. It's getting late. Bye.